having reached the hour of 5:30, I am calling the December 13th, 2022 Modesto City Council meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Here.
Councilmember Ricky.
Present.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
And Mayor Zwalin.
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Dallas Jackson from Renew Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you pray with me? Father God in heaven, thank you so much for this time that everyone has to gather here. And just pray for clarity of mind, speech for those who are all presenting. Just pray for wisdom that can only come from you. Pray for unity that only comes from you. And as we enter into this Christmas season, Lord, pray for any loved ones who are sick and not doing well as the flu is around. And just pray for your healing touch. Pray for also for those who are mourning for the loss of loved ones, Lord. But mostly for this meeting, Lord, just pray for just your spirit to work. Just bring everyone together. And again, we just thank you. We ask for your wisdom that can only come from you. We thank you for the way that you're working. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Email correspondence was received for item 23 as well as public comment, and those comments were forwarded to the council.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, will the city attorney please report out on closed session?
Yes, Mayor. During closed session today, the council considered an item dealing with existing litigation. No reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you very much. On to item 1, presentations of Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting and Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award by Government Finance Officers Association for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. And presentation for Distinguished Budget Presentation Award by GFOA for fiscal year 2022-23 budget. I will turn the time to our city manager, Joe Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very pleased to announce that for the second year in a row, the City of Modesto has been awarded the prestigious Triple Crown from the Government Finance Officers Association. To qualify for this award, the city must meet very high standards set by the association and be an award recipient in 3 separate categories. First, for the 39th consecutive year, the City of Modesto was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The Certificate of Achievement is awarded to local government agencies that go above and beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles to prepare a comprehensive annual financial report that embody the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. Next, for the 5th consecutive year in a row, the City of Modesto has received the Popular Annual Financial Reporting Award. This award goes to local government agencies that produce high-quality annual financial reports specifically designed to be readily accessible and easily understandable by the general public. And finally, for the 3rd time ever, the City of Modesto was presented with the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. Recipients of this award demonstrate the highest quality in preparing budget documents that reflect the guidelines established by the National Advisory Council on State and Local Government Budgeting and the Government Finance Officers Association's best practices. This award is the highest form of recognition in government budgeting and its attainment represents a significant achievement for the City of Modesto. When all 3 awards are won concurrently, the city is recognized by GFOA as a Triple Crown Award winner. I would like to recognize the hard work of the city's budget division staff, the community and media relations team, and the finance department staff that made all these awards possible. I am so very grateful for the work of each of our city departments in preparing and presenting our annual budget. Winning the Triple Crown is the goal and the standard every year as we strive to win this award again this and every year in the future. Congratulations to everyone for this amazing accomplishment. I will also make a side note that when we won this last year, we were one of only 317 local agencies in the United States and in Canada to win this award. It's a magnificent achievement and a recognition of the hard work of our staff, so I greatly appreciate everyone's efforts.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any comments from council members? Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff also, knowing that we're shorthanded in city staff, able to do a great job, and I think this is every last 2 years we've received different awards from this association, and it just shows the hard work that our staff puts in. I want to thank each and every one of you for that.
I too appreciate your efforts. And this speaks to the hard work, as Vice Mayor Wright said, that you've put forth. So we do have some acknowledgements. We would like to take a photo, and I would ask Deanna Christensen, our Director of Finance, who comes so highly regarded. We had a recent audit, and the auditor told me that of all the cities that this firm works with, Deanna is by far the best. So there's a reason we receive these awards. So if the council would join me, all right. Okay, Steve Christensen. And Andrew. All right. So we will step down and join you and give you these awards. Award for Outstanding Achievement, Popular Annual Financial Reporting. All right, we've got two more over here. This is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Who would like to hold this one? And this is the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. Okay. Next is item 2, presentation of eyeglasses collected during the Second Chance Week. Welcome. We have Mariah Hill, Recycling Program Coordinator from Public Works.
Thank you, City Council and Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mariah Hill. I am the Recycling Program Coordinator for the City of Modesto. With me, I have Janice McClendon from Stanislaus County Department of Environmental Resources, and I have Paul Wagner from Lions in Sight. We're here today today to provide you with a summary on a program that our 3 organizations with partner on every fall, Second Chance Week. You may have seen our little buckets around the city building, around county buildings, libraries, community centers, doctor's offices, and even thrift stores. We place these buckets and flyers all around the county asking for donations of used eyeglasses. Eyeglasses are a small item that can very easily be thrown away, but in the hands of an organization like Lions in Sight, they can change lives. All of the glasses that we collected, and there were 1,324 in total, were donated to Lions in Sight to benefit veterans, people experiencing homelessness locally, and those in need internationally. For a little context, it would take 6 of these council chambers, with every single seat filled, for all the people who benefit from these glasses. Those people today cannot see perfectly, but after they are distributed, they will be able to see with these glasses. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest, Paul Wagner. He has dedicated his life to service as a police officer, a teacher, a counselor, and a school administrator. And now, as a Lion, he continues to serve and bring sight to people all over the world.
After all that, I don't know what to say. Hello, my name is Paul Wagner. I'm District 4 Lions Club officer and director for the Lions in Sight. I'm here to thank you for some of the work done by your recycling groups. You complimented the people before. These people need to have the compliment too. This is the 3rd year that they've collected glasses, and they've enjoyed greater success each year. You may have noted that this year's campaign netted nearly, my math is pretty bad, but I said 1,500 because I counted them, she didn't. Pairs that can be reused. These glasses will be cleaned, prescriptions identified, and they will be prepared for shipping overseas and use here. Once abroad or here, clinics will be held and the glasses will be distributed to those in need. This year's Lions in Sight held 3 clinics in Mexico, 1 in Bosnia, and opened a warehouse in the Philippines. This is in addition to our warehouses in Panama and Thailand. Volunteer personnel in these countries also provide clinics to serve the local populace. The glasses provided by your joint campaign will provide clearer vision to about 750 people, needy people. From them, I say thank you, and from me, I say thank you. It's a good program. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. This is really enlightening to know how many people this affects and helps. Did you have some more comments that you would like to make? Okay. All right. Can we join you for a photo? Is that the plan?
What is it?
Photo.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. That's what I have down
I'm a
here.
ham.
This here, I have it down here. So, all right. If the council would join me for a photo.
We stand here and they come around us. Center of attention for them.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
How are you?
Well, real good after meeting your people.
Thank you.
Pleased to meet you. Where do you want to be?
You're the important person here.
Here we go. Smile, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Great, thanks so much.
Send me a copy of it.
Next is public comment period. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? This is for items not on the council agenda. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. I have approximately 17 blue cards, and I will be calling in the order that they were received, and I see 3 people at this time online. So the first is Steve Cunha.
Hi, members of the council. My name is Steve Cunha. I am the president of Modesto Area Street Rod Association, and I'm here to talk about the ban that's going on for cruising. You know, the city supports a lot of the downtown revitalizing. They support the Legends of Walk of Fame out here on 10th. You support the Graffiti Museum. So I can't see any reason why we can't support cruising if we keep it downtown. My belief that if we cruise downtown, 10th, 11th, I Street, loop around, take 9th out to the museum, I think that will help with all the local downtown businesses. People will stop, park, have dinner, whatever downtown. So I think that part of it is a good idea. And I don't think we'll have trouble that's been in the past 20 years ago. You know, and cruising has been around since right after World War II. They started cruising in this town. Jenny was one that told me that. So I'm all for that. If we keep it downtown, it's a car culture thing that keeps families together. I'd rather see the kids today get involved with cars than with gangs. So the families will keep together and cruise a little bit, park, and keep their kids right there. Also, like I say, I feel I Street, 10th and 11th are good streets in the evenings when there's not a lot of downtown traffic. I don't want to see them out on McHenry. There's too much traffic. And even 9th Street to go out to the museum. That promotes the museum, gets a little people out there looking at what's going on. I'm involved in the museum myself, so I'm all for that. And it's just a fun thing for families and people to do is cruise. We enjoy showing our cars off, and it's just fun and safe thing to do. So I hope you take it into consideration and drop the ban. It's a thing that if there is a problem, you can always put the ban back on. But I'd like to see the ban come off and let people cruise a little bit downtown and bring money to downtown. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next online, we have Paul Soto.
Yes, good evening, Council. My name is Paul Soto. I'm a Chicano from the city of San Jose. Today at our city council meeting, there was presented to the history of San Jose a sign signed by all city council members, and it was given to the History of San Jose Museum. And it was signed by all the council members, and it was one of the new no cruising ban signs. And this is a testament to the implementation of what racial equity looks like. Racial equity is a verb, it's not a noun. It is an action that we take to amend and ameliorate some historical injustices that I think we can all agree upon that has happened. One of those is the ban on cruising. There is a direct association between an equity issue and that ban. And I was also proud and really thankful for the support that I received from Tina Tadeo and the Modesto Cruisers Council. Is they supported, I was responsible for establishing the first headquarters of Lowrider Magazine here in San Jose and giving it a historical landmark status here in the San Jose. an acknowledgement that lowriding is the artistic and cultural expression of the sons and daughters of campesinos all along California. Specifically here in Saucipuedes, my father grew up in Saucipuedes. He picked fruit and lived in a tent in the 1940s on what is now the grounds of Guadalupe Church. Here in San Jose, there was 3 cultural expressions of the Chicano movement. And it was the farm workers movement, the rider movement, and then the Chicano movement as it related to academia. In San Jose, the 1968 first student walkout occurred in the entire United States, 1968. The Chicano commencement at San Jose State, when they walked across the street and challenged the policy that though we were 22% of the casualties in Vietnam, we were only 0.3% of the student body at San Jose State. And so writing for myself was the ability for the Mexican American to start cultivating his own identity within a system that was oppressive, that was demeaning at times, and that was that just was never allowed for himself to formulate his own identity in a context that was rejecting him. And so while we have kind of moved past that, I think that we as a society would benefit from seeing that the racial equity principles that we espouse and are trying to implement in policy, that this is one way that we can start that project. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Betty Santos.
Hi, good evening, council members. I am Betty Santos. I am one of the representatives for West Coast Customs here in the Central Valley. I also work alongside with Andy Rodriguez, who is a representative as well. Again, I'm going to start off with, cruising is not a crime, in our community. We have these cars to express what we have, to network together, to show an interest in other things. I happen to attend a lot of car shows. I generate my ideas by looking at everybody else's cars as well. Just to give you a little bit of highlights, our car community has been very busy in giving back to the people. So I just wanted to start out with, I'm just going to just name a few. Starting off November 20th, the Slow Riding Women's Car Club here in Modesto kicked off with a toy drive to benefit the farm workers' families. November 21st, a turkey drive that was put on by Nathan Sanchez to benefit the families as well. December 4th, Impala's Luxurious Car Club's toy drive, again, to benefit the Modesto Love Center. December 9th, the Silliman Juan Alandis from his district, he had a toy drive as well. December 9th, the Rebirth Car Club and Family Struggle Car Club had a toy drive, and from what I understand, that was a great, great turnout. And so December 11th, Impala's toy drive at the Ralston Goat just recently was great, and we have a member here who plays in a band. Got to talk to him a little bit, which is awesome. December 15th, we have the Central Valley Faithfuls that's going to be upcoming here. He's going to have a pajama drive for the children in our community. December 17th, Modesto Cruisers and the West Coast Customs collaborated together. We're going to have our Toys for Tots this coming Saturday at the Graffiti Museum. Another great event, December 17th, Califas Style Car Club and Boulevard Ronflas Central Valley Car Club is having a toy drive at Davis Park. Another one, December 17th, another toy drive at the American Auto Depot put on by the Impalomino Flick. He's doing that as well. And the last one's December 18th, toy and canned food drive put on by the Products of Society and Road Dog Hot Rod Shop. So again, I just wanted to let you know this is what we're doing to give back to the community, and it's not going to stop. We're going to keep doing. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep, benefiting everyone, the families that are in need at this time. And so I believe that it's time to put this on the agenda, and let's make go forward with it, and let's bridge that gap and work together. Okay, I know these car clubs really want to work together. Right? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next online, Lorraine.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lorraine Quinones calling from the East Los Angeles area, and I'm calling just to show solidarity and unity with the Modesto Cruisers Council and all those present today who are asking for the support of Modesto City Council to repeal the ordinance and to have this placed on the agenda. Just as many have spoke before me, you've heard several very valid reasons to place this item on the agenda. We believe cruising is not a crime, and it's part of our culture. This is part of our mental health as well. We cruise to release stress and just, have some downtime with family and friends over the weekend and, honor and celebrate the hard work of the week and just let go and feel that American freedom while driving our cars, our celebration of our culture and identity as Chicanos, Chicanas, even as Mexican Americans and Americans driving our vehicles and just feeling the freedom of driving down the road with not a care in the world, at least for the weekend. So it's a big part of our mental health and our artistic expression. So I stand in solidarity. We are also part of the California Lowrider Alliance. Many of us are calling in today and showing our support for all those present today before you and here through online and phone call as well. It's time. There's a resolution written by Assemblywoman Luz Rivas, ACR 176, that highlights the contributions of the lowrider community and cruising culture. And I know you guys are aware of it with the, graffiti museum that you have there and different points others made. So it's time to stop denying the fact that, cruising is part of who we are as especially Mexican Americans, but this is also multicultural. It's become a global, cultural practice. And so this ban is symbolic for me and many others as a form of systemic racism. It targets a group of people that are known to cruise or have lowriders, although it has transcended now beyond the color lines, if you will. And many participate in custom cars and lowriding and just enjoying the engineering and artistic value of car culture. So we ask that you place this on the agenda. It's time. The resolution honors that at the state level. And city and state counties are working together to show unity and call upon our leaders at the level of the city and local county levels to repeal the ordinance. And we're hoping this becomes a statewide bill eventually that is in the works. So Modesto, we call on you to take initiative and handle it before it, comes down from the state, show leadership and show equality, racial equity, as our friend before us just said. So again, I'm Lorraine calling from East LA. Cruising is not a crime. ACR 176, written by Luz Rivas. And I'll let you hear on behalf of many others who are here to speak on the same issue. Please place this on the agenda, and I appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. Next is James Costello.
I'm Jim Costello from the Modesto Peace Life Center. I was on a committee of multiple organizations, including the NAACP and ACLU, and we studied having a police auditor and a civilian police review board in a different city other than Anaheim. We formulated all sorts of documents, legal documents. We got lots of expert help, and we supplied those documents to the city staff recently. I want to thank the Forward Together Committee for their work on this. They did an outstanding job on this item. It's item number 23. I'm hoping you'll vote for it. And I just wanted to say this is ultimately about developing trust between law enforcement and the community. It has been shown to work in other cities. The data is extremely clear on this. But it's not just about police oversight. It's about the community learning about what police officers do also. And the committee that will be formed can engage in that and help that. I have 2 children in law enforcement and 4 extended relatives in law enforcement. So this is a tough topic. This is not meant to hang officers and the police out to dry. It is ultimately may help the police, help generate trust between the community and the police through independent investigations, and it may ultimately save the community money, the city money, in legal actions. So I hope you got through your 966-page agenda packet, and we'll vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will note that was for item 23. Usually we withhold those until thinking that you'd want to speak during the agenda item, but we did that now. So I have the next person online is Patrick.
Hello?
Hello there.
I have a question. Am I able to talk about anything I want right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, here's a little excerpt from the DA's letter about not prosecuting Sam Muncie. It says, Officer Muncie was standing by Officer Valencia and had his firearm drawn as a precaution for Officer Valencia. Standard practice for 2 officers in similar circumstances to have one officer use less lethal weapons and the other officer to have lethal options available. Officer Muncie was aware of Chavez and his behavior when Chavez had been drinking, having been one of the officers involved in the June 26th incident when Chavez was placed on a 51-day hold. During that incident, Officer Muncie had to escort the ambulance to the hospital with Chavez in it because Chavez was combative with the EMT. All right, so there's that. So I want to talk about how Officer Muncie was subjective. And I'm sure everyone on the board knows what the meaning of subjective means. When he was encountering Paul Chavez, he was subjective, knowing that he was 5150 3 weeks before that. When encountering Paul, he knew who he was and knew from the last encounter with him that he wanted to kill him. That's the only ending that would have pleased Sam Muncie. So this was also premeditated murder. This was not an accident. He didn't go on a whim. He knew from that first meeting with Paul Chavez on the 26th that he wanted to kill that man. Chavez, let me tell you something about CJ. I've known him for a very long time. He would hit you where it hurt. And I'm sure he did with Sam Muncie. I'm sure he said things to really hurt Sam Muncie's feelings that day on the 26th. And from that point forward, I bet, and I'm willing to put anything I have on that Muncie knew that if he ever seen Paul again, and Paul even gave him a little bit of a reason, he was going to shoot him. He was going to kill him dead. Okay? This is just, it's absolutely insane to me that you guys still, and obviously the board doesn't do shit about murdering cops. So, it blows my mind that the DA is more concerned about other things than a murdering cop, a premeditating murdering cop on the force. Okay? And how the chief sitting smug in the back, probably has a smile on his face, is okay with having this murdering cop on the force. Also I want to say, you guys need to do something. Give us hope again, because, we just don't have any with you guys. That's all.
All right, next in person, I have Diana Diaz. This is also regarding item 23, so if you want to speak now, you can, or if you would like to wait till the item comes up, item 23, that would be okay too.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to wait.
Okay, thank you. Next, and I hope that I pronounce your name correctly, Alicia Hager.
Alicia, you know, we only been coming here for 5 months, but it's Alicia. So I know we've been talking about this meeting for, I don't know, 2 years. I know it was finally in print about 5 months ago. So item 23 is about police brutality. So welcome, council. Sue. Texter. And I want to say, I really appreciate everybody's time and body language when they show that they're here committed and detective. But it also shows when they're on a call how serious they treat us. So I'd like to go back to that, what my boy Patrick was saying. It was questioned when my brother was murdered on July 14th if they knew Paul. It was addressed no, clearly. It was requested that they knew that they took him to a psych ward 3 weeks prior to, and I said, my brother's on medication, he's been drinking, it's mixing. Considering I'm on medication, so I know how it works. Apparently Sam knew that too because he was the one that took him to that facility. His answer was no, we don't do that. We don't do that. I want to know what you guys think of lying, morally, and then covering it up and taking our money for it. I will not be approving that $1.3 million that you guys are not going to talk about today, that was talked about 5 months ago, that will go back to the chief's hands. The liar that we were just talking about. The texter, by the way. So I'd like to say that June 26th, he took him to that psych ward, signed paperwork to get him on that medication because you have to do that when you go to a 150 psych ward. And then he took that phone call knowing that he was going to take what do they call them, block guns, dart guns. There's 3 other non-lethal weapons that you can use during a crisis like this. He also knew that he wasn't going to be calling him a suicide, right? But then months later, homeboy in the back want to release a statement for, I don't know if this is a media play. It looks really immature to me, to be honest with you. It kind of looks like a tic-tac war in Twitter or something.
Alicia, please speak to us.
No, I'd like to speak to the entire room. I don't have to speak to you. I'm speaking to the entire room. But I'm glad that you can speak, Sue, because we've been hearing nothing from your voice in the past 6 months. Thank you, though. Now, back to the chief. I would like to say that this is untolerated. He also rode in, I'm hearing he rode in with my brother. So you're telling me he murdered my brother and then rode in with him and left his 3 sons a sticker with his name on it? After we said you forgot about that document at our last meeting, that was 7 days ago approximately, homeboy released a statement in the paperwork the next day trying to cover his ass, or his boy's ass, for that $1.3 million that you guys are trying to approve. So I'd like to say he needs to resign.
Yeah, he does.
And I'd like to take a signature petition to that shit.
That's right.
I'd also like to say that you guys should not be able to take off. I was reading in that report you guys are allowed to take off and put on whatever, or take off as many minutes as you like after that 3 minutes. That should not be allowed. Nope. That's freedom of speech. And I think that's a damn shame that I sit here for 60 minutes listening to cruising when my brother is dead.
That's right.
I've been waiting 5 months for this meeting. My brother is dead. Not on a crisis call. I tried to save his life. We tried to save his life.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't live a good life. We had a struggle. As you guys know what the struggle is. I know you guys do. But what I'm not here for is for this media play. Because that's not what's happening. I'm here to clear my brother, Paul Chavez, Jr. II, his name. When they came on that call about the axe, that was a month before they ever came to that call when he was in that crisis. They absolutely knew on 2 other calls that he was suicidal. They absolutely knew that he was on medication, but they only said that he was drunk and never took a blood sample. A weapon is something that you use to hurt somebody. He never rose that. No, he did not. No, he went like this. But you may talk on your 3 minutes.
Okay, would you
No,
please?
no, because my
Yes.
time was taken away by homeboy back here. But a weapon,
No.
I'd like to say what the exact things of a weapon are. Because if I have a
Alicia?
No. When I have something in my hand,
Alicia?
no.
Yes.
No. When I have something in my hand,
Alicia,
and you raise it,
your
I'll tell
time
you
is
what-
up.
I'll tell you what it is. When I raise something, my brother's life is more important than 3 minutes. He got judged off 30 seconds and 30 years of life. And you're telling me my time is up. They told him that his time was up was way too soon, right? You'll not tell me my time is up. You can delete this part because it's after my 3 minutes. It's your statement. But I'm telling you that what a weapon is something that you use to throw in, when you use it like this. He never said, I'm going to use this on you. He never said, oh, that this is a weapon. And they sure as hell never told him it was because he was drunk. But they wouldn't ever say that to somebody who is autistic and had something in their hand. Huh? Look up what a weapon is and how to use it. And then you may talk on your 3 minutes on the police brutality. Don't worry, I'll vote on your cruise so you can drive around with your music.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you. All right, next.
Thank everyone but you.
Next, we have Flavio.
There's more important things in my life than that. You know what I'm saying?
You can hear me, correct?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, community of Modesto. I'm here kind of just to speak on, the low-riding community, and as I can see, there's some diversity that's, in the community that needs to be worked on as well, as you know. A lot of things going on in Modesto, and I'm just speaking about the cruising here in general. One of these things that it's done by having this ban is it's caused division within our communities across California. These cruising ordinances came in the 80s to deal with certain things in the community that were going on, whether it was the gangs or whether it was the drug dealing, those things that were happening in the 80s. These cruising bans came in because it was a way of dealing with the brown and black communities. And what it did was it caused that, separation of being able to trust law enforcement, being able to work with law enforcement. When you're racially profiled because of something that you're driving that's on 4 wheels and it's a form of artwork within our low-riding community, within our Chicano community, within our brown communities, it's a form of us being able to share our culture and being able to share the things that we grew up around. And to be able to be racially profiled because of a certain thing that's been established, like a cruising ordinance, it's sad to say that it's affected all of California in many different ways, but it has caused a division within all across California. And what it's done is it's basically caused a lot of our communities to not trust those that are in charge and those that are, overseeing these laws that are in place. And so I'm asking for you to bring this to your agenda, to remove this ordinance from your charter and put trust in the community. Trust the community, the low-riding community, the cruising community that is here to support the businesses, that's here to support the communities in Modesto. When we talk about these cruises that are happening, we're talking about an economic engine. It comes into a district. When these cruises are held, think about it. Cars come, families. Okay, we're talking about families. We're not talking about, this or that. We're talking about families. Families come to these events and spend money. Families come to these events and bring, their grandchildren and their kids, and they come out and hang out and they spend on burgers, and they come and just hang out and visit with one another, and they bring an influx of money into that district by coming and just coming out to the community. And what it does is it helps the businesses by being able to have more people visiting these areas. And what it does is it builds trust in the community. that we can work together and that we can be able to be participants and be at the table to be able to discuss things that are going on, like some of the things that I'm hearing that's going on in Modesto. The trust issue, once again, right? I hope that you will put it on your agenda. We support the Cruisers Council in Modesto, Jerry, and everybody that's there, Betty. And we hope that you will, support this. My name is Flavio Lisa, and I'm a member of the California Lowrider Alliance. And we're here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Bob Holloway.
Madam Mayor and council members, thank you for letting me address you again. And thank all the clubs that showed up tonight. I think we got 8 or 9 car clubs here. And as you can see, Hot Rod guy showed up tonight. So it's not just a Latino thing. It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's an everybody thing. And we are united. We are going to continue this battle. I've personally spoken with one-on-one with 5 of you council members. I missed the meeting with the mayor, unfortunately. I think you guys pretty much know where we're all coming from. I spoke to you before. I threw a spin on it that nobody else did. I go back, probably one of the oldest cruisers in this room right now. I remember 9th and 10th Street. Some of the older guys also probably remember that. It was brought to my attention tonight, too, that several people met their spouses during the cruise. So it's not all about whatever, but some of these people are still married. This goes back a long time. And here we are debating about this. And, the old days when the band started, and I understand exactly why it was, things were totally out of control. I've already addressed that also. But now those people are gone. We're a different community. We're a different group of individuals. It's not uncommon for some of us in this room to have $200,000 and $300,000 in our cars. We're obviously not going to go out and screw up and get them impounded or hurt somebody or hurt one of our cars. And just like all the other people on the phone stated, this it's like SAC and San Ho, East LA. They've all got rid of the ban. And I know that we've hooked you guys up with law enforcement in those particular areas, and they've all said there's no problem. Cruising ban was lifted, everything's cool. I think the chief will back me up on this. We've had a couple of things, and I personally made sure that there's no garbage left behind. There were no incidents. We had no calls for assistance. We had no police problems. We police our own. We take care of ourselves. And a big thing was Measure H, and we were led to believe when Measure H was passed that we would look at this cruising ban because it would provide more funds if enforcement was needed, which I don't think it is, but that's a personal opinion. Measure H is passed, and here we are in the birthplace of American graffiti, and we have a cruising ban. It's time for you people to get this on the agenda and get it to a vote, and let's do what we got to do. Bring back cruising. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ramon Rodriguez.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. Just want to let you know, next year, it'll be the 50th anniversary of American Graffiti, which put Modesto on a map we all know. And almost 10 years ago, I saw George Lucas and how he made, before Star Wars, he made cruising a cultural phenomenon, not just in Modesto, but worldwide. And I agree with everyone that it's time to lift the cruising ban. And I spent countless time on Lightroom, doing photo editing of all the cars I took when I was in graffiti for the past couple of years. And for me and for everyone else, it's time to lift, because all the lowriders, the hot rods, the muscle cars, people spend time and money, as well as blood, sweat, and tears to make your cars as a wonderful piece of art on four wheels to capture the attention of everyone. And when I see a beautiful car with a lot of detail that they put into it, I just take a picture, whether it's just sitting or moving. It's beautiful in photographic form. And also, the cruising ban has a lot of history of discrimination against black and brown communities, and cities of all over California is getting rid of it, and it's time for Modesto to get rid of it, because lowriding is not just riding in cars, it's a cultural thing. We all seen it, and it's not just a California thing, but it's part of who we are in California. It's a California culture that influenced the whole part of the world. There's a lowrider scene in Sweden, in the Netherlands, and also in Japan. And this shows that lowriding culture in muscle cars and hot rods is just an international thing, because we influence many people with cars, and people all around the world loves it. Now, like, when graffiti is going to go bigger, we're going to get people from traveling all over the world to see our cars. So the perfect time to put Modesto on a map, because Modesto is part of graffiti. Graffiti is part of Modesto. So it's time to lift the ban of cruising and let everyone cruise their cars, whether it's a lowrider, a muscle car, a hot rod, or even the modern lower Chevy pickup trucks. The young kids nowadays are doing it because they're influenced by the lowriding culture. So it's hopefully put in an agenda someday to lift the ban and let everyone cruise around in Modesto, because that's just who we are. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Alejandro Bravo.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Alejandro Bravo. I am a Chicano here from Modesto, California. I would also like to thank all the lowrider car club people, the hot rod people, and the car enthusiast people for being here in representation. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Modesto lowrider community. I would like the cruising ban to be repealed and be placed on the agenda. The ban was put up back in 1990. It's been 32 years. It's time to repeal the ban. Cruising in Modesto is part of history. We've all cruised here since we were kids. As far back as I was 8 years old, riding in the back of my family's lowriders. We put a lot of money into our cars. We put a lot of money into our culture. We put a lot of time. We spend a lot of time in our communities doing a lot of work for people that are underprivileged. We take care of our lifestyle, meaning our history, meaning our culture. This lowrider here, I am proud to be a lowrider, and I respect everything about Modesto. I respect everything that we do here, and I respect all of you. And I just ask you to think about it, talk about it, and listen to everybody who's here speaking. There's a lot of people coming together and doing positive things in this community that not only have lowriders, they have hot rods, or car people in general. I thank you.
Welcome. Next online is Vicente.
Yes, I'd like to support the Police Oversight Commission. Police Oversight Commission needs to take place in all cities. All cities need to have Police Oversight Commission. They're not judge, jury, and executioner. They're supposed to be there to protect the citizens. They come and harass all the citizens. They do no protection. Every time I've ever called the police, all I had is a file report. That's about it. So we need police oversight. And also we support the cruising. You guys need to open it up for all the people. You know, put it on the agenda, repeal the ordinance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, I have Charles Bird. It's regarding police reform. So if you'd like to speak now or wait until item 23, that is up to you.
Members of the council, I am Charles Bird. I am the chairman of the Libertarian Party, Stanislaus County. I got to say, I'm pained whenever I see people make excuses for police brutality and police corruption. I honestly do not believe these people are, as they claim, serious about law and order. If they were, they would demand that rogue police be held accountable. Now, there are some very necessary reforms that I believe that need to be made. That I believe will help police to do better, that I believe will prevent unjustified shootings such as the homicide of Paul Chavez. This would include no more six-figure salaries for LEOs. Rookies should walk their beat during their first year so they could get to know the neighborhoods that they patrol and the people who work and live in those neighborhoods. No more military hardware. No more sending LEOs to Israel to learn anti-terror tactics, because police are not soldiers and citizens are not the enemy. We need to do something about the police unions, because they have rendered civilian oversight of law enforcement systemically impotent. We need to end the prosecution of victimless crimes, including cruising and skateboarding. And we need to put an end to qualified immunity. So that's what I came here to say, and thank you very much for your time. And while I have a half minute left, car culture is the best thing about Modesto, and I hope that never changes.
Thank you. Next online is John.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to start off like I always do with the three names, of course. Paul III, Abraham, and Josiah. Paul was accompanied by his wife, his 3 boys, and a whole gang of family. He did nothing wrong. He had no weapons. He wasn't acting sporadic. He wasn't showing threatening signs. He wanted one thing and one thing only: to be helped, to be held. He wanted someone to understand what he was going through at that very moment. He wanted to be told that everything was going to be okay. He was scared of you monsters, not because he was doing anything wrong, but because he knew all about how you police work. I myself struggle from mental issues, severe depression, severe anxiety, bipolar disorder, and ADHD. I have had multiple run-ins with the police myself. Why didn't you shoot and kill me when I had a knife in my hand? Or better yet, a baseball bat? Why wasn't I shot and killed when I physically threatened an officer to his face and all he did was laugh me off like I was a common idiot? I truly want to know the difference because we both had jobs, we both had wives, and we both loved our lives the same way. We had goals, we had dreams. Why not me? Paul lost his goals. Paul lost his dreams. Is it the fact that I didn't have any kids? Or was it the fact that the officers that dealt with my situation were properly trained, unlike your officers? But I'll let you folks decide that, of course. Anyways, at the end of the day, we lost a father, a husband, a brother, a son, a cousin, an uncle, a nephew, a grandson, a best friend, and lastly, most importantly, a human being. And to me and my family, that's not okay, nor will it ever be. We love you, CJ. We're going to keep your name alive. We're nowhere near done yet. We will get justice one way or another. Please say his name. Justice for Paul Chavez Jr. I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have Joe Monteroso in person. Joe Monteroso. Maybe he left. All right. Next, Beth Goodridge. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So, Mayor Zwellen and City Council members, thank you for having us here. My name is Beth Goodridge. This is my son, Brandon. And earlier today, I had emailed Diane a link to a YouTube video that my son made. I know Mayor Zwellen got a chance to look at it. Hopefully, all the council members get a chance to look at it. He worked hard on it. It's regarding the intersection of Sycamore and Coldwell. And cars not stopping. Our concern is that drivers don't stop at the intersection, so perhaps they don't see the stop sign, or perhaps they're just ignoring it. So, drivers behaving badly is nothing new. But sadly, this intersection does pose an extra risk because of its proximity to Ensslin Elementary School and the dozens of children that walk through that intersection every day, as well as kids and adults that live in the immediate vicinity. So cars that fly through the intersection at top speed with foot traffic in the area, it's a little bit scary. It's sort of like it's not if, something happens, it's when something happens. So we would like to be a little proactive about the safety in that particular intersection. So as the video showed, we're sort of proposing some kind of traffic calming measures, perhaps like the little stop signs that flash, or some better paint just to make it more visible. We actually think that perhaps drivers don't even see the stop sign there. So we're just concerned that it is a risk. However, all of the lowriders and muscle cars are happy to cruise right on by our intersection as long as you do come to a complete stop and for everyone's safety. So we thank you for having the opportunity to speak, and thank you for watching the video. So.
All right, you're welcome. I do not see anyone online. Is that correct? I'll keep looking and watching. Thank you. All right, next is Solange Altman. And maybe you're here for item 23. as well, or if you'd like to speak now.
Actually, point of clarification, it's a consent item, so I didn't think it would be brought up separately.
Which is the consent item that you're referring to?
Item 23, hey, it's a consent item.
Unless I'm mistaken, that is unfinished business?
So it's not a consent item?
No, it is not. It will be discussed.
Would it be possible to discuss it before the other two hearings that you are going to be holding?
They are. It is scheduled before the other two hearings.
Okay, I'll speak later then. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, next is Teresa Gamboa. Item 12 was in consent. Well, will be in consent. But we will not be discussing that unless you request that it is pulled from consent, which will happen after public comment. You'll have that opportunity.
I'll wait.
Okay, you would, all right. Next is, okay, the next one, John Lucas, but that is also regarding item 23. Okay, so I'll hold that. Andrea Kidd. Hi there.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to read you a post I did on Instagram from the first one, the meeting that we had a few weeks back. And as you hear my words, I ask that you picture in your minds what exactly I am saying, because this is not from statistics or anything else. This is basically my perspective. So we come together at City Hall and showed love and support. Everyone shared their stories. Brothers and sisters spoke with such passion and conviction for a lifestyle we all love. We're all artists with the way we express ourselves through our cars, from our sharply dressed men to our beautiful women who apply their makeup as perfect as if we're painting a canvas. Our community promotes unity and sets an example for young ones coming up. We give back and help anyone in need. As this was the first step in our journey to lift the cruising ban, it was an amazing one to be had. United we stand. This was 24 weeks ago. And again, that is my perspective. This is more than a lifestyle choice. In actuality, this is who we are inside and out. This past summer, female lowriders were asked, what's inspiring to us? I answered, the next generation inspires me. The inspiration is having my 10-year-old daughter, Olivia, sitting shotgun cruising the boulevard with the wind blowing through her hair, singing without a care, to be empowered. We are here on this journey for the now and the next generation. In recent years, the family structure has changed. With all the loss, we hug a bit more. We love a bit more. We set our own examples for the next generation to love and respect and solidarity and giving back with selflessness, meaning to concern more with the needs and wishes of others than one's own, a noble act. Our examples are through supporting one another, with all the outreach we do in the community, with fundraising for toys, food, clothing, and funeral expenses. We attend at least 4 functions each weekend, if not more. As I have heard over and over again that the decision to repeal, not to repeal, is somewhat based on predictability. What I mean is that you are predicting our future action in regards to the mistakes of the past generations that have us standing before you today. Can I ask all of my brothers and sisters to please stand that are here in support? All hot rods, cruisers, solo riders, and club members. With that being said, yes, we come out in numbers today. Make sure that over the holidays, when you are returning emails and having conversations, that visions right here in front of you replays in your minds so that you can see the journey that we are taking. So that please, we ask that you lift the ban as we can continue forward with this journey. Many blessings to you and yours. And remember, when you are low riding out on the boulevard, you're actually slow riding. Shoo! United we stand.
right, next, Brittany Chavez.
What's up, murderers? Remember that last conversation we had? You don't hold anybody accountable. Instead, you rub elbows with everybody. You don't talk to your own people. You hold the keys, Mayor. You council members are supposed to counsel her. And no one's doing anything, are they? Instead, you want to be hush, quiet, and try to throw things under the rug like you always do. I moved here May, and July 14th, my husband was murdered in front of me. Sam Muncie was the one who placed my husband on a 5150 hold. When he came to that call, he already only had one intention. That intention was to kill him. With that being said, what are you gonna do about it? Because I thought today was Forward Together, and I ain't heard shit about Forward Together. So what are we going to do moving freaking forward? What are we doing? Collect a paycheck, sitting on your ass, not doing shit.
Would you
No,
correct your
no,
language,
no,
please?
no.
I asked you to
So
do
the
that.
only time you want to talk is now. I've been asking you to talk. I've been asking everybody here on this meet to speak. But the only time you want to speak is when you want to tell me what I can and cannot do. That's right. Freedom of speech. This 3-minute bullcrap is bullcrap. Telling me what I can and cannot say after I watched my husband get murdered because you allow your dumbass chief of police to still allow those murderers to stay on force? 3 weeks. 3 weeks he was out on paid leave. Just to be back on force so he could kill again. Mind you, this is the second killing, right? What about La Matia? After he killed Seaver? 5 times. He killed 5 freaking times. Oh, but we're all gonna go to the back room, right? Hold hands, sing Kumbaya. They don't matter. Their lives don't matter. But instead, we're gonna tax the crap out of people. And use that money to pretend like we're gonna do something, put this shindig together, and say, oh, well, we're doing this moving forward together crap, but we're really not moving forward together. Because when you move forward together, you don't allow the chief of freaking police to dictate crap. That's right. You involve a third party, somebody who's not involved with the chief of police and the district attorney, anybody in this freaking city, let alone freaking county. You're all murderers because you're all guilty by freaking association. That's right. Y'all need to get your crap right and do something. Because I'm not done. I know you've seen my signage, Sue. I hope you've seen your face out there too. Because your face was out there, the chief of police was out there, the DA was out there, and so was the murdering Muncie, Sam Muncie himself. I will not freaking stop. I will go out there by all means, day, night, raining, sunshine and all. You do not have enough manpower to take me down. I am infuriated. And I will get justice, even if that means replacing you, Sue, because you suck as a mayor. You really freaking do. Because a mayor, when you go up there and you are supposed to do your job is to be about the people. Not by anything else. By the people and their concerns and what you're supposed to be doing better for the people. You council members are just as bad. You're supposed to be counseling her to do freaking better. But y'all ain't doing nothing, are you? I like to actually see you actually look at me this time. City attorney, huh? I bet you're in with the devil too. Do something. Make these murderers cops do their time. Because all I hear is bullcrap. and that you ain't gonna do nothing about it except for tax more of the people to get these organizations done, but still have the chief of police have the final say? He gets to decide on who and who cannot be the third-party investigator? Well, then guess what? We still have a fucking problem, don't we? The problem is, you're not getting rid of the fucking problem! Done, Sue, I'm done.
All right, next is Teresa Clutter.
Hello. I'm here for justice for Paul Chavez, as you all know. You know, watching somebody get murdered in front of you is life-changing. It doesn't matter how hard you try to forget it. It doesn't matter what you really do. It just replays over and over and over. And every time it replays, your mind tries to figure out what could have gone, what could have been different if I would have just did this, if I would have just did that. If Sam Muncy just wouldn't have came and showed up with a gun to a tail hitch show. You know, having to spend all your free time fighting for justice for your son is not a good time, okay? This should be a time I'm spending the holiday season with my grandkids making cookies and them having a good time, looking forward to presents under the tree. Do you know my son was the one who passed out the gifts every year? I haven't bought a tree yet because I can't. Because if I have that tree, I have to put gifts under it and somebody has to pass those out. And I don't have it in me to do that right now. Because I got to spend the rest of my life adjusting to the real normal. My new normal, my family's new normal without my son, without my grandkids' father. You made my daughter a widow. She's 31. Sam Muncy knew my son. And I believe with everything in my soul, he took that call on purpose. He heard that call come through. He heard Paul Chavez's name, and he took that call with motive, with intent, and he fulfilled it. I know my son, and he was very witty. He was very smart-witted, if you say. You a shit talker, okay? And especially when he was drinking. So I know when Sam was in that EMT ride on the way to the 5150 that he, I'm sure, got under his skin, being drunk and intoxicated and having a meltdown, that things were being said. And Sam took them personal. So when that call came in 3 weeks later, the first one to arrive, Sam Muncy, convenient, right? 26 seconds later, my son is dead. So forward together, if you guys are serious about this, you need to implement it and do it quickly. Because 2 years is a ridiculous amount of time that has gone by, and 2 more people have died by the hands of the Modesto PD since then. How much more time do you need to make a decision? How much more time do you need to put your foot in someone's ass and say, that is enough? We will not tolerate this anymore. If officers knew they had to be accountable for their actions when they kill somebody that is non-threatening, I bet you they'd think twice before shooting that gun.
Hell yeah.
And I just want to make a note. I know I'm off the record now, but for the people who are here, we do have a petition. You can go to www.justice4paulchavez.com. Watch the video for yourself. Make your own conclusion. Sign our petition. Monday, December 5th, the DA releases that they will not be charging Officer Sam Lindsay for the unlawful killing of Paul Chavez. Tuesday, December 6th, City Council meeting. Our family and other members come in and tell you how we feel about that decision. December 7th, Wednesday, the Modesto Bee releases an article. My daughter's on the front page in regards to the district attorney and the council meeting. December 8th, my daughter and I are out protesting downtown, which we do regularly, by the way. It never gets tiresome. Friday morning, December 9th, conveniently, my office is downtown on 12th Street. All the signage in my front windows was ripped down. Only the signage that says Modesto PD Sam Muncie killed my son, Paul Chavez.
Ain't that some shit?
I just find that awful convenient, right? Just my office. I'm upstairs, by the way. Transients sleep upstairs all the time in my building. Never bothered me, never touched anything. All of a sudden, just my office. I'm watching all of you.
I think we all are.
Right next is Nathan Sanchez.
Good job, Mom.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. First off, I want to go ahead and open up and say congratulations to the newly elected council members, Councilman Williams, Councilman Bavaro, and Councilman Alvarez. Welcome. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and also read a couple dates. November 6th, November 19th, November 20th, December 3rd, December 4th, December 9th, and December 10th. These are dates that the people behind me and different representatives from various car clubs have hosted turkey drives and toy drives. They went out of their way. They moved out of their own heart to assist the needy of the city, of our community. They didn't do it for any fanfare, for any recognition, but they did it because they were moved to do it. They are assisting, they are helping, they are doing what they can for the better of everybody and the community. We've already hosted different events. We've put together different cruises. We've already sat down with various city council members and have requested your support. And we appreciate the support that we've had thus far, and also from the support from our police chief and the police department as well. But it is time. We're requesting to put this on the agenda, to give us a chance to hear what we're doing, to see what we're doing. We're not bringing any negativity. On these dates here, there was cruises at these events. These dates where these functions were at the parks, at the taco trucks, at the Modesto Battery Center, at the Modesto Love Center. And I know for a fact that there wasn't any call made to the police department. I know for a fact that there wasn't any nuisance that happened. The times before were the times of the before, but this is a new time. This is a new generation. This is a new people that have a sincere love for what we do and want to keep it alive. Put it on the agenda. Hear what we're saying. Give us another chance. That way we can keep moving forward. Thank you.
Welcome. Next is Steve.
Get some, Steve.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I am personally not really that into cruising. It's just not my cup of tea. But that doesn't mean that I can't see the obvious fact that it's meaningful to a lot of people, both in their personal lives and what it has done for them personally, and also culturally. I have a hard time seeing you guys not eventually allowing it. The thing is that everybody wants it. It's the will of the people, and it doesn't cost you anything to allow it. Though I definitely would love to see the ban lifted, I understand where Alicia is coming from and why she would be upset, because I too, in the last couple of years, since I've become involved in trying to support these families from whom you have stolen, I've seen you guys get elated over sometimes borderline silly, ridiculous things, and sometimes important things. I noticed Mr. Bravaro get super happy when he had something to talk about that wasn't your cops killing us. We watch your faces. We get a reading off of you, right? And beyond whatever is going on inside of your minds, we all know it's not pleasant to think or talk about the idea of our tax dollars killing our neighbors. I paid for you guys to kill Paul Chavez Jr. My taxes went to you being complacent about reinforcing and increasing the likelihood of the recurrence of Modesto police killing for no damn reason whatsoever. That sickens me. I can't help but to care and get involved. I think I can understand why some of the folks that came here to talk to you about cruising left when the wife of your murder victim was getting rowdy, because it makes them uncomfortable. They didn't come here for that. But in my opinion, what they're missing is that the two issues that this community has brought to you today, let us have our fun, let us celebrate our cultural traditions, let us enjoy our own streets. You're not here to dominate us, you're here to represent us. Yep. There's some connections there. We, the citizens of this community and surrounding communities, and all of our loved ones, etc., have the right to live in a community where we're not going to be hunted and publicly executed, or maybe just, oops, I guess I shot you. Something that Birgit Flatiger said in her statement blows my mind, because if this were a middle school English class, I feel like the students would get the silliness of this logic. She's saying that Muncie had his gun drawn because it's protocol, because Valencia had his taser drawn. Have any of you watched the video? Muncie pulled up on Paul Chavez lying in the shade on the grass with his gun already aimed at him. Something which the Modesto Bee intentionally, I assume, because I know they're not stupid, omitted from their recent article. Here's the thing. Our DA has a pattern, a career established on lying and protecting the guilty. And I don't have access to all the evidence to be able to say that beyond a shadow of the doubt. But I'm not stupid, and I pay attention. And she told an idiotic lie in that statement that exposed a fundamental principle of what's going on here. You guys get to decide what reason is. You guys get to decide whose lives matter at all. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be leading and representing us. I am very excited at the possibilities that we're looking at with the changes recommended by the Forward Together group. But I'm a little scared. To be honest, Sue, you flat out lied to this community for like a couple of years straight. And I've been coming over here. I was going to read off the website, but I obviously talk too much and I'm out of time. But anybody can look at your official city website and look at the rules and see how it contradicts the blatant lie you've been telling us for a long time now. Because you don't want to talk about it. Because you guys don't want to piss off whoever at the Police Officers Association, etc. If you can't lead us and make our lives better, you have no right to sit in those fancy chairs. Right. I really look forward. I'm hoping that this Forward Together initiative will bring about real change, but you guys continuously give me reason to doubt. I'm going to still continue to hope, but I'm still going to be here to point out your hypocrisy and stand up for the people over whom you have power and whom you abuse.
This is Deanna Garcia. It says item 9, which,
Oh, that's related, right?
well, item 9 is consent, so you can speak now.
I got 2 cards, by the way. So, Deanna Garcia, nice to see you all sitting up there. I was here for your swearing in, and thank you for having me up here tonight. I am the owner of Modesto Cannabis Collective. I have a cannabis store on the west side of Modesto, and I'm just asking that we think about lowering the taxes. The taxes are on a sliding scale from 0 to 10. Right now we're at 8. Comes to about 9.2% of gross sales per month. And if we could think about lowering that down to 4, that'd be a blessing. And then later on tonight, we're going to hopefully move forward the core program. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, City staff, Sean, everyone who worked really hard to bring the core equity program of cannabis here to the City of Modesto. With doing that, we are going to allow 2 more retail stores in the City of Modesto. So what a beautiful time to be able to lower the taxes as our clientele is going to get spread up between more stores. And my next thing, on a different topic that's not on the agenda tonight, is Mays Boulevard. The freeway exit 99 has been held up a long time. And if you go up and down Mays Boulevard and talk to any of the business owners on that street, it really hurt our business and our clientele when that freeway exit got taken away from us. You have to either get off on Kansas or on Central, circle back. MapQuest isn't too great right now. A lot of reasons that it's hurting us. And I know it's only a stoplight. I know it's nothing the city can do. It's all about Caltrans. But if you could put some pressure on them to have them move along a little faster, the lights are up. They just have some nets over them. All the construction's completely done. It just has some barricades. If somebody could please talk to Caltrans and ask them to move those barricades away, turn those lights on. Let's get that Mays Boulevard exit open again. It would help all of the stores, all of the commercial boundway there to be able to allow our customers to be able to reach us again. And God bless you all. Thank you for sitting up here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next is Vanessa Alfaro.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Alfaro. I'm here to speak on behalf of the cruising banning, but I'm also here to make a statement. So, with that said, I'm totally against police brutality. So you guys are here to set a tone, to serve and protect. You are also here to be held accountable.
Thank you.
So if you do the crime, you do the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
So with that said, all these individuals here, as well as you guys, are pillars of the community. So therefore, we're all supposed to come together hand in hand and work together. So as far as the cruising, as you were a child, your parents had fabulous cars. You guys used to go on the weekend for a drive, dinner, lunch. We do the same. Cars maybe that we couldn't afford then at that time, but we do now. So therefore, when we go out, enjoy our time with our family, we are proactive with the community to give back to those. We maybe weren't fortunate as a juvenile or as a youth, but some of us are now. So we do toy drives, events, regardless. The ban became efficient in 1988. Several years now. Here we are. We're not kids, we're adults. We're not running amok. A lot of these families here, they go out with their kids. They're not out 12, 1, 2 o'clock. When they go out, they enjoy dinner as a wholesome, as a family, as a community, just as well as you. So come together as a whole, walk together hand in hand, and enjoy. We have graffiti nights why can't we do this on a regular basis if there's no conflict or issues? What's the problem? Come together as a wholesome, as a community. We are here. So either we're going to join hand in hand or not at all. So what is it? Take what everybody has to say into consideration. We are a voice, and so are you. So lead by that. Lead by example.
Thank you. Next, I have Patricia. Patricia?
Hello.
Hello.
I prepared a statement. I'm going to be respectful of the time, but forgive me if it goes a little bit over. I'm just going to start right away. In November of 2022, I was stopped by the Modesto Police Department while driving home for my second job of the day. I immediately rolled down all my windows and grabbed my driver's license. The officer approached my window and I handed him my driver's license. He was very polite and kind and spoke gently and softly, and informed me that I needed a repair before walking back to his patrol car. I have also observed the Modesto Police Department take additional steps to build positive community relationship within this city. In June of 2020, I was experiencing a mental health crisis after I lost Carrie. An officer found me on a walk. He exited his car to speak to me. I found a place on the grass by a tree on a church property. I sat down. I leaned my arms back behind me, resting my palms in the grass while the officer spoke to me. There were many officers there that day. While the officer was speaking to me, he placed his hand on his weapon, and I watched him do this. He then thumbed the button that secured his gun into its holster. I became afraid and stood up to walk away. The officer got into his car, followed me, turned his lights and sirens on me, and told me he would cuff me if I didn't stop and speak to him. This time I stopped again. He stepped out of his car, and this time I watched as he firmly held his weapon in its holster. I silently prayed for help, begging God to do something. Seconds later, all officers on scene were called away to another location, and I continued on my walk. Had I been shot and killed that day, the officers were given enough information to ethically justify and validate my murder. The truth didn't matter when they encountered me. What they were convinced was true was all that mattered. Had the DA written a review of the shooting or statement of my shooting death that day, she would have offered enough information to justify that my murder was a clean shoot. No mention of my love of community, my God, my children. No mention of my service to my community since I was a child. No mention of my work in the mental health field serving the underprivileged. In 2018, me and my children were stopped by a Modesto police officer on the way to a pediatric appointment. I pulled over and I immediately rolled down all the windows in the tinted windows in the car that I had borrowed. I turned to ask my little one in the back seat to take down her hood, but the officer was already walking up and I didn't want her to make any sudden movements. I then turned to my teenage daughter sitting in the passenger seat and I said, "Take off your hood. I need him to see that you are a child." She silently did as I instructed. The officer walked up to the car with his hand on his weapon and he asked me for my driver's license. He informed me that the tags were expired on the car and I informed him I was not aware of that. He gave me a warning and let me go. I then told my teenage daughter, "If you ever get pulled over, roll down all your windows. Don't make a cop think someone in the back seat can be a danger to them. Have everyone take down their hoods, have them expose their hands, be polite, be respectful, don't make any sudden movements, don't give them a reason to think you or your friends are a danger to them. I want you alive and I want to save your friends' lives." My daughter, who was probably about 15 at the time, she was very wise. And she did not tell me per her usual response to anything I ever told her was stop worrying so much, or she didn't tell me, "Why are you so paranoid?" She didn't even roll her eyes at me. She listened intently to my instructions and quietly replied, "Okay." I have observed this council listen to anger and upset and rage from this community against the Modesto Police Department. I have then observed as the mayor directs a community member to the police department so they can solve the problem. No other help is offered from this council to remedy community issues in those situations. This council is giving all the responsibility to the department to heal the divide in this community, while you stand silent in response to their justified upset. In April of 2022, I gave a statement to this council about a violent assault at the hands of sheriff's deputies and Modesto police. Immediately after I spoke, I listened as one council member stated in response to my statement, "We need to lock these people up who fight back." I also listened as another council member gave a glowing praise to the Modesto Police Department for good work in the community immediately after my statement of assault. Council, your words have power. and you are using your words to cause division between the department and the community you have sworn to serve. Your silence feeds the tension in the community. You are endangering community members with your silence, and you incite this community against officers with your words. And that endangers the officers you have tasked to solve the problem that you are helping create. I'm asking that you use your words and use your power to heal the division in this community. And I have listened as the public has promised to replace you if you continue to refuse to use your power to protect, and I believe them. I've reviewed the budget, and the initial $800,000 that you set aside for mental health services to work with the department has been increased to $1.6 million per year, increasing every year to $1.87 million on year 5. I would like to ask that you honor that, the only exception being if you increase funding in the future. And I'd like to thank you for honoring the budget to renovate the shelter on Vine Street. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. All right, I will ask one more time, Joe Monteroso. Apparently he is not here. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment? Correct. I believe your item was probably for item 23. That is not. And I actually pulled that out to ask you. All right. So next we'll have Aaron Aguiano. Okay. All right.
I'll keep it real brief. I know this is the last meeting of the year, so something to think about. Cruising has become a crime here in the city of Modesto. However, recreational marijuana is not a crime when it used to be a crime. So something to think about. They lifted laws to allow people to have recreational marijuana, but yet we still have a cruising ban here in Modesto. So thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you. All right, Aaron Anguiano.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. And thank you for pointing me to the Forward Together Committee. But I just wanted to say that I support cruising. I was about 15, 16 when I first came to Riverbank in Escalon, and we used to cruise around, and I remember the cops always chasing people and giving tickets and harassing people, and I guess it's been a crime since then, or even before. And then we had stories how people used to be stopped and beat up and then released. And some officer one day gave us information to the community years later, 30 years later, that they used to have this policy of beat and release. So no, we don't want that kind of action by the police anymore. And I know the chief and we get along great, especially after this meeting, Forward Committee, Forward Together Committee, and I met with him, and I have full confidence in the chief. And I know he's to keep us safe, but I think that officers may use any pretext to stop cruisers if you allow cruising, and why should you? Shouldn't you? I remember Maggie Mejia just organized cruising for one of the parades. Even the chief of police invited me. So I think it's time that you do not criminalize cruising and that maybe you allow it. Well, you used to just do it on Fridays and Saturdays, and who cares? We're not doing anything. You know, if you can buy just something at Denny's or the hot dog place, you know, down there and all the way to Venus, for those that remember Venus. So I don't know what's the big deal. This is the first time I found out that cruising is an issue, and I thought it was legal until this gentleman tell us that it's illegal, and if it is, I don't think it should be. And we in the Latino community roundtable and everywhere, we think that it shouldn't be illegal in that sense. You know, I didn't think anybody would say that it's illegal. So I please ask the police and the chief to make sure that his officers, whenever they see these people here, they feel so passionate about this, they do not harass them or stop them with a pretext to just do search and check for license and check for warrants and check for all kinds of things, because I think that's a kind of racial prejudice at work So I appreciate if you guys keep an eye on that, and and the police chief is here. I don't think I need to tell him that. That's something, that's my opinion anyways, and who am I here to tell you what to do, right? Anyways, but it's just my opinion. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I do not have any other blue cards under public comment or anyone on Zoom. Please step forward.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Perez, and I'm here to advocate for the removal of the cruising ban. I moved to Modesto from Southeast LA when I was 8 years old, and I remember moving here and being really proud to tell people that I was from LA. So something I never understood was why people in Modesto never really were proud to say they were from here. Most of my peers growing up either didn't see hope for their future here and wanted to leave the first chance they got. It's important to note that most of my peers were young Latinos and students of color. It wasn't until I graduated high school and started working with the students in the school systems here that I heard the same thing from middle school and high school students, again, mostly from Latino students and students of color. I started to see that this was a pattern. After graduating from MJC, I was privileged enough to go to college at Sacramento State, where I was a part of a youth organization called Brown Issues. Through Brown Issues, I saw the difference that it really made in young people's lives when they were truly seen, loved, and appreciated. The difference that it made when they saw themselves and their cultures positively represented in their communities. I'm urging you today to consider repealing the cruising ban as a means of creating a Modesto where more aspects of our culture can be celebrated, not banned. The city of Sacramento repealed their cruising ban just this past June, and within the same year, they were able to institute a lowrider bike program at Luther Burbank High School in South Sacramento in collaboration with community leaders and local car clubs. The students that now attend that program for the first time in their life, for some of them, actually look forward to going to school because they actually have a place where they feel seen and feel that they belong. I can only imagine the difference that this type of programming would have helped with some of the students that I went to school with who were talented and creative but never had the same opportunities and support that I did growing up. So all in all, I'm here to encourage you to remove that ban as a first step in future possibilities for what we could do with our city, for what we could create, an environment that is more inclusive, that is celebrating of culture, and where more people feel like they belong. And as a side note, while we're talking about the well-being of people in our communities, I would like to add that the safest communities are not the ones with the most cops, but with the most resources. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think, all right. Welcome.
Thank you. Council, congrats to our elected officials that just won their seats. If you don't know, get to know Natalie Perez. She's a future doctor for the Central Valley, and she's been a wonderful friend for a long time. I came here initially to talk about the ban on cruising because it's an outdated practice that allows police to encounter and approach groups of people that look like me and other darker skinned folks, and create that introduction to the criminal justice system, and it often doesn't end up well for us. And I am in support for repealing it and giving folks the okay to be out in our community and be out in the streets. That's what our communities are for community to join together and celebrate each other, celebrate our culture. But upon hearing about Paul Chavez Jr., I think that's very sad. I shed a tear when his mom was talking about what she has to deal with this year. And I know Sam Muncie, he has also killed before. He killed a homie's uncle. And it's sad to hear that he, again, is okay to patrol our streets. And so with this Move Forward Together initiative, I hope that we can get some accountability with our police department and give ourselves, the people, more resources to keep each other accountable and celebrate community once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment for items not on the agenda? All right, that will close our public comment period time. Next on the agenda is consent items. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will return at 7:25. All right, if we could gather to begin the meeting again. All right. Thank you. Chris and Eric, we're ready to begin, please. All right, next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion? Seeing none, is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion or comment? I had one card from Teresa Gamboa regarding item 12. Did you want that item removed, or did you just want to make a comment about it now, and then we'll do it under consent?
Good evening, Mayors Wallen, Council. It's nice to see you guys up there. Nice, fresh council. As City Attorney, City Manager, nice to see you guys. I'm Teresa Gamboa, and I'm the Chairwoman of Woodland West Community Neighborhood. We appreciate the patrol on the new 132 roadway. As you might know, Kansas Avenue is going to be repaved, and then we are expecting a lot of speeders. So we'd like you to consider patrol for Kansas once it's finished.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Item 3, consider approving the minutes from the December 6, 2022 council meeting. Item 4, consider approving final adoption of ordinance 3752 CS, repealing Title 5 Sanitation and Health, Chapter 11, Organic Waste Disposal of the Modesto Municipal Code in its entirety, and repealing and replacing Title 5, Chapter 5, Solid Waste of the Modesto Municipal Code. Item 5, consider a resolution continuing to authorize remote teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. Item 6, consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration for the implementation of a local transactions and use tax, and the resolution authorizing the examination of the sale, use, and transaction tax records for the city. Please note there were minor changes to the resolution. The revised resolution was placed at the dais for the council, and there's also copies of the revised resolution at the entrance of the council chambers for the public. Item 7, consider approving a third amendment to the legal services agreement with Nosamon LLP to adjust rates and extend the term of the agreement for one remaining year. Item 8, consider approving a second amendment to the legal services agreement with Rivera Hewitt Paul LLP in the amount of $255,000 for a total agreement amount not to exceed $400,000 for continued representation. Item 9, consider accepting a cannabis equity assessment report, adopting a cannabis equity program, and approving the submission of a grant application for the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development Cannabis Equity Grant Program for local jurisdictions. Item 10, consider adopting Section 24 Davis-Bacon Labor Standards and Section 25 Minority Business Enterprise and Women Business Enterprise and amending Section 6 Homeowner Rehabilitation Program Policies of the Housing and Urban Development Policies and Procedure Manual. Item 11, consider approving an agreement with Catholic Charities Diocese of Stockton to provide environmental justice outreach component of the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant application, an amount not to exceed $175,000 for the next 3 years for Archway Commons Phase 2. Item 12, consider approving a no-cost Third Amendment to extend the term of the agreement to June 30th, 2023 for the Construction Zone Enhanced Enforcement Program Agreement number 19R465000 with the State of California Department of Highway Patrol for the SR 132 West Freeway Expressway Phase 1 project. Item 13, consider approving an outside service agreement for water service for property located at 4524 Tilly Road in Modesto, APN 046-012-005. Item 14, consider accepting an informational report for the October 2022 accounts payable payment register and void report. Item 15, consider accepting the monthly investment report for August 2022. Item 16, consider approving a 2-year retail and legal advertising contract with McClatchy Company, LLC, DBA, Modesto B, in the amount not to exceed $125,000. Item 17, consider approving the purchase of 2 aerial trucks from Terex Utilities, Inc. at our Watertown, South Dakota, for a total amount not to exceed $751,900. Item 18, consider approving an agreement with RTI International for evaluation services for the Board of State and Community Corrections California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program in an amount not to exceed $154,955 over 3 years. Item 19, consider approving a pre-qualified hydrogeological services consultant list and 2 on-call hydrogeological services agreements in a combined total amount not to exceed $450,000 over a 3-year period. Item 20, consider approving an agreement with West Monroe, Inc. out of Los Angeles, California for consulting services for the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Project in the amount not to exceed $484,275. Item 21, consider approving an agreement with Carollo Engineers, Inc. out of Walnut Creek, California for engineering services for the East Morris Sewer Replacement Project for a total amount not to exceed $1,980,000. Item 22, consider approving the plans and specs for the Jennings Command Center and Hong Lift Station restroom project, accepting the bid and awarding a contract to Harris Builders, Inc. of Hillmar, California for a total amount not to exceed $623,619.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the
Motion to accept all
consent
consent items.
calendar?
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright and a second from Councilmember Alvarez. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro. Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye, so it carries 7-0. Next on the agenda is council comments and reports. Councilmember Williams.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, and those that have come tonight. I'd like to say congratulations to a good friend of mine who is out here, whose son plays for the Cowboys, Deron Wright. I'm so glad that he has done, Bland is his last name, sorry, has done a fabulous job representing the city of Modesto. He had two interceptions last week. And I'm not a Cowboy fan, but, you know, I'm glad he is. But I'm very happy that he is representing the city of Modesto, and it's good to have his father out here today, Dwight Bland. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to talk a little bit more about the homeless situation we've got going on in Modesto right now. Again, I'm going to keep talking about how we need safe camping now. Safe camping gives the homeless a place to go, a place to be, a place to hang out, a place to stay dry. And most importantly, it gives an unhoused person a place to be found by our services, and hopefully a pathway out of homelessness. We know we need to start this immediately. This is a crisis. We know how long it takes to launch things. You know, it's been almost a year since we approved safe parking, and we're still trying to get that going for the people that live in their cars. I also want to talk about the cruising ban. Cruising bans are rooted in racism and perceptions based on gang culture from the 80s and 90s. We know that bigger cities than us have listed bans and haven't had the issues that bans are supposed to prevent. So I believe it's time that we should lift this ban. I request that staff, has a conversation with maybe with Sacramento and San Jose, maybe get some stats on how lifting the bans have impacted their cities, in terms of TOT taxes, in terms of sales taxes, police services, stuff like that. Finally, I just wanted to say that I had a good conversation with the Modesto Library this week, talking about the idea of expanding their library of things. If you don't know what a library of things is, it's in lots of cities and around the country, you can check out things from the library, like tools, sewing machines, cameras, musical instruments, just like a book. And I think in a city like Modesto, expanding our library in that way would be really helpful to people and make Modesto a better place. Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the community, for being here with us this evening. I want to highlight the great turnout at the Central Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's second annual Christmas Carnival and special gift giveaway for kids this past weekend, hosted at the Modesto Gospel Mission. I want to give a special shout out, of course, to the Central Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, El Concilio, the Modesto Gospel Mission, and Univision for their sponsorships and service to our community. There were over 20 organizations present with free resources for our Modesto families, and 1,000 toys, almost 1,000 toys were given out, and Santa and the Grinch also made an appearance. In terms of the cruising ban, I've been vocal and public about this particular subject. I believe cruising is an expression of not only Chicano culture, but African American culture, Asian culture, and of course our hot rod and others. And we are nationally recognized for our deep-seated car culture here in Modesto, and we are all aware of that. I also believe that the ban is an antiquated policy that needs to be updated to fit modern times, and other cities lifting their bans have proven to be relatively successful. So we can use what works here in Modesto, and I would also like to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Mr. Ricky here, and I would like to make a recommendation that our staff run a comparative analysis on this particular subject to find out what in fact works and what doesn't. I'm looking forward to continued conversations with the car community and my council colleagues, of course, about how we can discover how we can reintegrate cruising back into Modesto in a safe and responsible way for all of our families to enjoy. However, I want to highlight the importance of prioritizing traffic safety and the safety of the community at large if we do, in fact, move to repeal the cruising ban here in Modesto. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Scudia-Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor, very much. I also want to thank everyone that attended tonight. It was a full audience, a full crowd, and really provided us with a lot of meaningful input. And as always, very much take it to heart. Also, on a different note, I wanted to mention I serve on the city's appointments committee. Actually, I'm the chairman of that appointments committee. I serve with 2 additional council members that make up that 3-member committee. And the purpose of that committee is to make a recommendation to the collective council on all appointments for the various groups that we have in the city of Modesto. We have various bodies, we have boards, we have commissions, we have committees, we have advisory groups. We have over 35 of these groups. These groups span different subjects. They span blight, planning, culture, every subject that one might have a passion for. The city has an advisory group, a citizens group that looks at it and provides recommendations to the council on these things. They do the research, they have the subject matter expertise, and they are all appointed by the appointments committee at some point or other. Anyone wishing to be part of this process that makes up what Modesto is, what Modesto's policies might be, and in a form of a recommendation to the greater council, should consider being part of one of these groups. Our website has a list of all of them. Again, there's 35 of them. One can go to modestogov.com to see the list, to see an application and apply. All of these groups at some point have a vacancy because they do have alternating terms. Some have terms of 2 years, some have terms of 4 years. But again, there's ample opportunity for everyone wanting to be involved with government and with their city to be involved. So again, I encourage everyone to be part of this process. Like my colleagues, I appreciate the respectful conversation and dialogue that we've had with the cruising community. They have expressed in great numbers the time has come in having the city come to the table and have a conversation on lifting the ban. I agree that the time has come to do so. I think it can be done very respectfully. The conversations have been ongoing. The subject of lifting the ban is not new to us. Various groups and various individuals have had an ample opportunity to talk to the chief of police, city manager, the mayor, and many of the council members. So the dialogue has been there, and everyone knows the issues that we're tackling with the resources that we need to make this, to bring it back. I also look forward to this conversation continuing, and in the very near future, bringing it on an agenda so that we can decide whether this is a good fit for Modesto at this time. I do think this is the last meeting of the year. I want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. Thank you for being here, and I wish you all just a blessed holiday time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do any other council members have any comments and reports? I'll just make one comment in that while we celebrate culture in our community, we're rich in culture. We have our own ballet company. I was honored to participate in that last weekend for their opening night. As the fairy godmother, I wish that I could have that magic wand and fix a lot of things that we need to fix in our community. But we're so fortunate in that we have a symphony and the arts and ballet and opera and many other groups that perform and enrich our culture of our community. At the same time, I would feel like I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the pain that some people in our community are feeling at this time. I recognize it and feel it. I know I don't feel it in the same way that some do, but I hear you. And I wish that more had stayed for what we will talk about in item 23. But here we are, and we will move forward. So those are my comments. At this time, does the city manager have any comments and reports? All right, next on the agenda is unfinished business, item 23. Consider an ordinance establishing the City of Modesto Community Police Review Board, approving the associated bylaws, and approving the proposed scope of work to retain services for an independent police auditor through a request for proposal process. And I will turn this over to our Deputy City Manager, Allison Van Gilder.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Staff will be presenting information regarding the establishment of a Community Police Review Board and a proposed scope of work for a contracted independent police auditor. This is a follow-up to the Council workshop on September 29th, where we discussed the Forward Together Work Group's recommendations, evaluated various accountability models, and sought input from Council and the community regarding these elements. While many different agencies were studied, the City of Anaheim's model was the recommended point of reference of the Forward Together work group and provided much of the inspiration in developing the items before you for consideration this evening. As we look back over the last 17 months, there have been significant milestones leading up to this point. Each one of these steps has led us to where we are today, and thanks to the tireless work of the Forward Together group, we have a valuable roadmap toward improving police and community relationships in the City of Modesto, with a focus on policies and practices, alternative response models, and accountability. As you may recall, the recommendation to initially focus on the Community Police Review Board and a contracted independent police auditor is based on the fact that these elements provide the foundation for accountability as represented by this graphic. By implementing the Community Police Review Board and independent police auditor, we will have the mechanisms in place to conduct the independent review of the various policies and practices identified in the Forward Together recommendations report, as well as independent review and analysis of critical incidents, including officer-involved shootings and use of force. During the last workshop, questions were raised regarding where these elements would reside in the organization. It is proposed that the Community Police Review Board and the contracted independent police auditor be facilitated under the city manager's office as part of the overall accountability structure. I will now provide an overview of the proposed CPRB bylaws. We will provide an overview of organization and membership, duties and training, meetings and attendance, and procedures and powers of the board. More details can be found within the proposed bylaws included in the agenda packet. The board will be established by council ordinance as required by our charter. With the goal of engaging diverse voices, it shall be comprised of 9 members who reside within the city limits, with preference provided to residents representing diverse ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, professional experience, organizational affiliations, and neighborhoods and districts in Modesto. Current law enforcement officers or city employees are ineligible to serve on the board. All interested applicants must be registered electors as indicated in our city charter. They will be required to complete an application and a background check, which is standard for most CPRBs. We have not identified any specific criminal convictions which would automatically prevent participation. This allows us the flexibility to consider the nature and timing of any past convictions and evaluate applicants based on their contributions following that time in their lives. The city manager will review applicants to determine eligibility before being considered by the appointments committee. As part of the appointments process, the appointments committee will conduct an interview of each eligible applicant to better understand their unique experiences and interest in becoming a potential board member. As with many other boards in the city, recommended appointees will then be considered by council. Appointed members will serve a 4-year term with a 2-term maximum. The CPRB will be responsible for carrying out a variety of duties and will participate in ongoing training provided by MPD, the IPA, and other sources. And IPA is our independent police auditor. Initial training will focus on police practices, operations, and related functions. The board may also request training on topics they are interested in exploring. It is recommended the board conduct monthly public meetings to afford the public regular opportunities to provide feedback and receive updates. The board will also serve as an additional conduit for complaints from members of the public and will route those complaints directly to the city manager for investigation and follow-up. Timely notification of major incidents will be afforded to CPRB members, and the chair will be able to respond to certain incident scenes. Members will have opportunities to proactively engage with the community at events and participate in regular outreach to raise awareness of the CPRB. These activities will be captured in a public annual report to the city manager and city council outlining the CPRB's efforts and any recommendations from the board. The structure of the CPRB meetings will require regular attendance at all monthly meetings to provide a quorum for the CPRB to discharge its duties. At this time, staff has determined the meetings will take place on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. All meetings of the CPRB shall be open to the public and will take place at 1010 10th Street. Officers of the board shall consist of a chair and a vice chair, elected by a simple majority vote of members of the CPRB. The vice chair shall assist the chair in his or her duties, and in the absence of the chair shall perform all duties usually performed by the chair. The city shall also appoint a staff representative to serve as the CPRB's secretary and a staff representative to serve as the CPRB's liaison. The city manager shall receive and evaluate all recommendations of the CPRB and determine what steps, if any, will be taken relative to those recommendations. The city manager will address recommendations with the chief of police, city attorney, and the city council as appropriate. So the graphic before you represents just a recap of the membership process, beginning once again with the application, background check. Eligible applicants will then move on to the appointments committee and then on for council approval. Once those members are appointed, we will begin a pretty extensive onboarding and training process. And then we will be able to move on to having our monthly meetings. But we foresee that training will be a key component of the board's activities, given the vast depth of the subject. And once again, we're recommending a 4-year term with a 2-term max. We'll now move on to the second accountability element, the independent police auditor. I'll provide an overview of the roles and services provided by the IPA and their involvement with administrative investigations, citizen complaints, and use of force investigations. We will also address their access to information, reporting and training, more details regarding the IPA's role are included in the proposed scope of work that's included in your agenda packet. The primary role of the IPA will be to offer an independent assessment of police practices, procedures, and responses to critical incidents, uses of force, and misconduct investigations. The IPA will issue periodic reports at least annually, but may be more frequent if requested, describing its appraisal of the Modesto Police Department's processes, practices, and procedures, and will offer recommendations for systemic improvement. The IPA will also serve as a police practices advisor to the CPRB. In addition, the IPA will be contracted to audit and review departmental internal investigations and citizen complaints. They will review administrative investigations of sergeants or higher. The IPA will also have the ability to respond to the scene of all officer-involved shootings and in-custody deaths, and will advise the city during the investigation. This includes the review of lethal force and in-custody death cases. The IPA will attend major incident review team meetings, also known as MERT, and provide timely feedback after the initial briefing regarding any observations, recommendations, and requests for further investigation. It is understood access to information is essential. Therefore, MPD will ensure the IPA has access to any relevant police department files to ensure the IPA can complete a thorough review of its contracted responsibilities. At least annually, the IPA will prepare a written public report regarding their audits, including policy recommendations, citizen complaints, and the conclusion of investigations by Internal Affairs to the extent allowed by applicable law. The IPA will also work closely with the Community Police Review Board to provide requested training and to assist in the preparation of the board's annual report. The flowchart represents the sequential steps to implementing the services of an independent police auditor for the City of Modesto. Once the RFP process is complete, an item will be brought back to council to approve the agreement with the selected IPA. Staff estimates the cost of the auditor to be in the range of $100,000 to $150,000 per year. Next, we will go over the implementation timelines for both the CPRB and the IPA. I will preface this slide with the acknowledgement that this timeline is very ambitious, but staff's intent is to move toward implementation as quickly as possible without sacrificing the quality of those efforts. A significant amount of work has already been done, and staff is prepared to implement these steps should council provide the policy direction to do so. In looking at the month of December, following this meeting, should council provide that direction, we're prepared to issue the scope of work we're prepared to issue the RFP with the approved scope of work. We've also developed a web page that has all of the information regarding the Community Police Review Board, with information on bylaws, and we will have regular updates on that page identifying when applications will be available for the community should they like to apply for that board. But alongside that, we will launch an extensive education and marketing campaign to educate the community on the new board, as well as the services of the IPA and the opportunities to participate on that board. As we look ahead, we would expect that all of the outreach will take place, that we're speaking to here on a variety of platforms. Not only will we utilize social media and our webpage, but we intend to make direct contact with the organizations in the community to make sure that their boards and bodies are aware of this particular opportunity. I know we have a wealth of opportunity with the organizations, particularly those that participated in the original Forward Together work group. Applications for the board are expected to be made available in January, and we will accept them all the way through the month. And then with the goal that we will begin to review those applications in February and conduct the background investigations for those interested. The other item that will take place in January will be the deadline to respond to the IPA RFP, so that we can, in addition, begin the process of reviewing those proposals, scoring them, and identifying who the selected IPA might be. Moving into March, we will be the goal is to bring those items to the Appointments Committee for consideration in the early part of March, and then hopefully bring those to council at the end of March for consideration. We will also hold the interviews for the IPA during the month of March. Finally, as we move into April, the idea is that we will initiate the training that I spoke of earlier for the board members. There will be significant onboarding. But we want to make sure that they are provided a solid foundation so that they can confidently move forward and perform their duties on the board. And then we will also bring that item I spoke of earlier back to council in April to hopefully approve the agreement with the selected independent auditor. We've identified the month of May that the board could potentially host their first public meeting. But again, I want to acknowledge that we recognize this is a very ambitious timeline, but staff is committed to towards implementation. And so please be patient if we have to adjust these dates slightly, but this really is our goal. So we're hoping to achieve that. Before I conclude, I would like to once again take a moment to acknowledge those who have played a key role in getting us to where we are this evening. Will Kelly and the Forward Together work group, many that are here tonight, your efforts are commendable and have truly had a positive impact on police-community relationships in the City of Modesto. We thank you for your selfless dedication during the Forward Together process and providing a powerful tool focused on the review of police policies and procedures, alternative response models, and accountability. To Kate Trumpeter and Michael Baldwin, your skilled facilitation and leadership throughout the Forward Together process has been essential to our progress as a community. And to my predecessor, retired Deputy City Manager Kalua Barnes, and all of the staff who have supported this effort, thank you for your time and service to this important endeavor. Mayor and council, at this time, staff recommends the following. A motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance establishing the City of Modesto Community Police Review Board, a resolution approving the associated bylaws for Community Police Review Board, and a resolution approving the proposed scope of work for independent police auditor services. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Allison, for that great presentation and thorough presentation. Does council have any questions of staff? Councilmember Scudia-Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Allison, thank you on a very thoughtful and very thorough presentation. And I have 5 questions. I'm sorry, I'll be quick as much as I can. Will the IPA attend all the CPRB meetings? Will the auditor be attending the Community Police Review Board meetings?
It is quite common that the IPA attend meetings. However, it's not a requirement. So in our research, what we've seen is that, and as I mentioned in going over the role of the IPA, they are valuable resources to the CPRB when it comes to training and providing background on technical processes and things of that nature. So I would anticipate that there will be, particularly in the beginning stages, lots of opportunity for engagement between the IPA and the board.
Okay, thank you. You indicated in your report that the IPA would be providing periodic reports. What mechanism, number one, is it required? And if so, what mechanism will there be in place for that report to be shared and communicated to the public?
Yes. So what we've seen is that oftentimes, in the majority of cases where a city has an IPA, there's at least an annual report that's a look back to identified closed cases that they've provided an additional review, and they provide their findings and, if necessary, any type of recommendations on those. And so within the scope of work, we've given some examples of what we would be asking the IPA to provide. And I can run down that list really quickly. The IPA will review and report on an annual basis all investigations, cases in the following categories that have been closed: all uses of deadly force and in-custody deaths, all bias-based policing complaints, all administrative investigations in which the subject employee holds the rank of sergeant or higher, a random selection of 1/3 of all administrative investigations, a random selection of 1/3 of all citizens' complaints, a random selection of 1/4 of all use of force reviews and any other investigations at the discretion of the city, and prepare an additional critical incident reviews or tasks requested in writing by the city attorney. So we envision that there will at least be an annual report, but it's really at our discretion if we desire to have more review and information.
But that's fantastic. But irregardless of how many reports are done, how will it be shared with do we know that as of this point? How it will be shared with the public?
Typically, it's in a written public document that would be submitted to the city manager's office, and then there would be, I would imagine, a communication outwards to the public to make that document, to publish that document to the public. Okay. What we've also seen in our review is oftentimes on the board's website or on the city's website, they will post these reports out in the public domain.
Okay, thank you. On section 1.4 of the bylaws B, it indicates members shall serve for a term of 4 years. If reappointed, incumbents may serve a second 4-year term. Special consideration shall be given first to the eligible incumbent members, then to eligible applicants. Will there be a process in which the members that were appointed and up for reappointment be evaluated or reviewed in some manner to determine that they are in good standings and a good fit to move forward for a reappointment?
I think we would follow the same process that we do currently for our other boards and commissions. Staff would provide a report to the appointments committee reporting on that participant's meeting attendance and things of that nature, so that you could essentially weigh that into your the appointments committee could weigh that into their decision-making process.
I would encourage you to explore that a little bit deeper, take a deeper dive in that, and we may want to evaluate additional elements that we do because of the sensitivity and the confidentiality and just the nature of what this particular committee does, if warranted and merited to look at them even deeper than what we do now for our other civic committees, if warranted. Thank you for bearing with me. My fourth question is, Forward Together worked in large part because of the exact composition that it had. The composition that it had was made up of every stakeholder group that had skin in the game, that had a say, that was impacted by police policies. What was the thought process in the composition for the CPRB?
So I would say that, we explored several different options, and what we found is by creating parameters such as, somebody has to fit into this box or they have to check this box, it created less flexibility when you try to, determine or anticipate who's going to apply. And so we felt that by leaving it a little more broad with the general intention of messaging that we want diverse voices, we want diverse backgrounds, all of the elements that I referenced, that it would essentially not limit applicants if they were to read that and go, well, I'm not that, or I don't fit that. We really want to keep it as broad as possible. And then it also allows the appointments committee and ultimately council, I think, to have a wider, a broader spectrum of potential applicants. And you can really, I think, evaluate people more on their merit and their experiences, and it provides a lot more flexibility to determine who you think is going to be a good fit for that particular board.
Sure. Well, again, the reason why, in my opinion, Forward Together worked is because of the composition was selected in, not the individual, but the organization was a lot of thought went into that, and it was very exact in the composition, and that's why that conversation worked so well. In being so broad, as you indicated, I feel there's leaves some room for ambiguity and some chance. So I'm very hopeful that our candidate pool is broad and expertise and provides a comprehensive conversation. But again, it is, that's a hope. I would love to have a mechanism where we can not ensure, but help get us to that place where we do have a makeup of 9 individuals that are all very qualified and competent to address that multitude of issues that this group is going to have to make recommendations to the council on. And that's going to, we'll have to give that, staff is going to have to give that some thought of what that mechanism looks like, and I look forward to hearing more about that. And in the same reference that I read, we make reference to preference provided to those special groups. What does that preference look like? What does that mean?
I think that's the messaging that I spoke of earlier, is that we are hoping to encourage a variety of individuals with varied backgrounds to look at this as an opportunity for them to participate. We wanted to, I think, at the heart of it, be as welcoming as possible, so that we can encourage a diverse level of interest and have varied perspectives coming to the table without predetermining who and how many and where and all of those things. And so I will also say that I think we have a very unique opportunity as compared to maybe some of our other commissions and boards, where we have the original Forward Together work group, who we know has been very engaged. They have taken that information back to their various organizations, and I believe there is a high level of interest in seeing this board filled. No pressure to the Forward Together work group, but I think that, like I said, we have this group of individuals who are already engaged and I think care very deeply about this topic, and are willing to come to the table. And so hopefully that reassures you in that regard a little bit.
Thank you.
Is that it for
It
questions?
is.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I just have a couple of hopefully quick questions.
Yes.
I noticed that it mentioned specifically on page 16 that there would be this written public report by the independent police auditor, which I think you're talking about the annual report.
Yes.
But on page 14, it said the IPA will issue periodic reports. Will those also be public?
So
You mentioned that it would be every year annually, but this leads me to believe it would be more often.
So the reference to periodic reports is really up to us. Remember, we are essentially contracting for the services of this independent auditor. And so while we absolutely will expect an annual sort of summary of their reviews, if at any time we feel the need that we'd like an additional review done on a particular topic, we have the ability to do that. And so we just thought it was important to include that in the RFP so that it was understood it wasn't just one report a year, that we have that flexibility.
Would those be public?
They would be public at the appropriate time, depending on where they are in terms of the legal review. But the ultimate determination will be that they will be public.
All right, one more question on page 19. In March, it says schedule IPA interviews. Who will be doing those interviews, and I guess that's my question. Who will be doing those interviews?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so typically, we will have representatives of the various interests. So in sort of anticipating the planning for this, we're looking at having myself, a member of the Forward Together work group would participate, as well as likely somebody from MPD, just to get a varied perspective. And then we, as you know, will often ask a council member to participate in an observing role.
All right. Those are my questions. Continued question time. Jeremiah Williams.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of those who participated in Forward Together. I was on the outside of that a year or two ago, and now I'm on the other side of that. And I want to thank you for your time and effort. And I'm sure tonight it will not go unveiled. The fact of the matter is that when you all, Allison and the chief and others who actually had a 2-on-2, just with 2 of our council members, to go over this plan, and I had questions then, and you were able to answer them. And you know what struck me more than anything with the entire process was the compassion and the true sense of desire to make sure that we can have what we need to have for our community. So with those that have participated in the Forward Together, as well as staff, thank you so much for having the right attitude about it and wanting to do the right thing for the people, by the people. So thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members before we go to the public? All right, so we will open this up to the public, and I have some blue cards. Diana Diaz.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Diaz. I am an organizer with the North Valley Labor Federation, and I am here on behalf of the North Valley Labor Federations to express our sincere gratitude to everyone on the board, and to also say that our executive director, Will Kelly, who served as the chairman of Forward Together, couldn't be here today, but he's very supportive of this initiative. And I know that it was a long endeavor that took years. It wasn't just something that they wrapped up together. So I just want to thank them for their time and effort in this. And I want to say that we support the Community Police Review Board and the hiring of an independent auditor. And I also think it's really important that the auditor recommendations be public and accessible to the public and the community. I believe that this process is going to help build trust that the city needs, and I look forward to seeing the positive results that this is going to bring. We know that it's very needed, and yeah, we support it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next online, I see a person with the initial I. Are you on to speak regarding item 23? If you're able to unmute. Right. Maybe we will go on at this time to Ramon Rodriguez, and we will come back to the first person. Ramon Rodriguez.
Yeah, regarding item 23, this is a bold step for the city and for the community at large, because they have two things that we wanted to see, and a civilian review board and an independent police auditor, and that's all we want. And hopefully that will pass and made it into reality, because now more than ever, this will help the community feel safer and build more trust in the police department, as well as having an independent auditor to hold the rotten cops accountable. And also it will build trust between the police officers and the members of the community. And also they'll make, in regards to the mature age and getting more officers, now more than ever, having the new review board and independent auditor, that will make the police officer's job more easier, and also to keep the toes in with accountability and everything. Hopefully it will be a reality, and I pray and hope that it will become real, because this is what we need for years, and this will build a lot of trust for the community. The community will not have to fear losing their voice when they complain about an officer. So for that, I am in support of it. And now it needs to implement smooth and quick, but smooth, make it better. And that's what we've been fighting for almost 2 years. And this took a lot of work and a lot of compromise, but everyone made it, and hope they'll be incorporated into the city. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Solange Altman.
Mayor Wallen, members of the council, Mr. Lopez, Mr. Sanchez. Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm going to try to do this in 3 minutes, but it's hard. I was one of the four public representatives on the Forward Together committee. And I don't know if all of you know this, but I'm a retired immigration lawyer. I spent more than 25 years doing immigration law. And in that capacity, I worked with both prosecutors, DAs on some cases, and sometimes criminal defense attorneys, so had a perspective about both sides. So generally, I'm very supportive of the documents relating to the independent auditor, but I do have concerns about the police review board bylaws and specifically the duties. And for those who served with on the Forward Together committee, Teresa Gamboa, she was another public representative. I'm kind of one of those in the weeds kinds of people. And when you read just a set of bylaws, I think it's hard to envision how those will really work. So I want to talk first of all about an incident, something that happened here in our community more than 10 years ago, and which for me is the reason that I wanted to be part of Forward Together. More than 10 years ago, people who were undocumented were unable to get driver's licenses. It was against the law. We have more than 39,000 people in Stanislaus County at the last census who are undocumented. So what would happen is when police did a routine traffic stop of somebody who was undocumented, they would cite them because they couldn't produce a license. They get cited for being an unlicensed driver. And because they were unlicensed, they technically couldn't drive, so their cars were impounded. And when their cars were impounded, they had to pay impound fees to take them out of impound. Those impound fees sometimes were $1,500, $2,000, $3,000. And a lot of people ended up losing their vehicles because of the citation. And as a result of that, they lost jobs, they lost their ability to do their businesses, take their kids to school, et cetera. Huge consequences from a little ticket. Driving without a license can be an infraction or a misdemeanor. Anyway, what happened is people who were undocumented were afraid to make their complaints to the police. So what they did do is they expressed those complaints to Faith in the Valley. And when this came out and it was a real hardship, Faith in the Valley went to the police and they basically worked out an agreement so that when someone got stopped, they'd have the opportunity 30 minutes to call a licensed driver to come and get the car. So that way they wouldn't lose their car. So what I envisioned with this police review board is that someone who normally would not make a complaint to the police directly would go to the police review board and they would have, can I continue? Would have an opportunity to have that board participate in formulating a solution to the problem. The way your bylaws are written, so the person comes to the police review board and the board turns it over to the city manager, who turns it over to the police department, who then works with the independent auditor, and they come up with their recommendations. Now, the bylaws say that the independent auditor is supposed to work closely with police review board. It doesn't say that they're required to meet and confer, and it doesn't say how often, although Allison said they'd probably be attending meetings, but it's not specified in the bylaws. Anyway, and then when the police and the independent auditor comes up with a solution, technically the police review board doesn't get notice of it until the annual report is done. And then the recommendations and what they've done. And maybe nothing will be said of the kind of incident that I described, because that's not an officer-involved shooting. That's not a use of force issue. It's one of those other issues in the community where only there's like a random selection of a third of the complaints that the auditor will report on. So that was a huge issue to our community. And under the scenario that you set up with this police review board, it would not necessarily get addressed by the board. That concerns me. I think the bylaws need to be tightened up a little bit. I think the independent auditor has to meet and confer with the police review board. And I think that the police review board needs to have some role in formulating solutions. And a year is just, the other thing is the independent auditor is only required in that to do an annual report addressing closed cases. You can have ongoing pending cases and nothing will be said about them. And I understand as a lawyer, when there's litigation, you don't want to talk about what's going on. But I think it's important, even if there is litigation for the independent auditor to address, these cases are pending. It's in discovery mode. It's set to go to trial. Something, it doesn't have to be that much, but it's important to make the community understand. I mean, we saw this here today. They don't understand that there's a process that people have to go through. And justice is slow. And government is slow. But if they just understand something is in the works and it's proceeding, I think that would be helpful. that openness, that communication is what helps build trust. And that's what Forward Together was all about to begin with. So anyway, those were my, let me look over my notes real briefly here, make sure I addressed everything. Anyway, the 1 year report I think is too long. I think there need to be like quarterly reports, and the police review board needs to be more involved in formulating recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next online is Thomas Helm.
Good evening, everybody. Mayor, well, welcome to the new city council members.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh, okay. You didn't hear anything I said before?
I heard welcome to me and to the new city council members.
Oh, okay. So my name is Tom Helm. I was on the Forward Together committee representing the Stanislaus County chapter of the ACLU, which I helped found. Even before that, I worked for an organization called Valley Improvement Projects, who had done work around law enforcement accountability, and worked with families that filed complaints about abuse, including the family of Francisco Moran, who was killed by Officer Lamantia over 10 years ago. And I have said this at meetings before, but I'm just going to reiterate it for maybe some folks that haven't heard it. But 10 years ago, if you told me we'd be at this point, I'm not sure if I would have believed it. The atmosphere at the time when trying to bring up the issue of police abuse in the communities, especially among certain populations, it was, kind of laughed off and not treated seriously. This was all right before it kind of exploded on the national scene, and then we've seen it come back home to Modesto. So I just want to say, one, that I'm very happy to see that the atmosphere has changed and that we've come to this point in Modesto. I think a lot of work has gone in. You've heard the names of the folks that put in a lot of work to get this done. A lot of meetings and a lot of time. And the other thing I'll just say that I've also said before, but I was extremely surprised and happy to see that everybody that was part of the committee came to the table in good faith, not really bringing an agenda, willing to listen, willing to have an open mind, to hear point of views different from theirs, to try to have an understanding of why some folks feel one way and others might feel another way. And I'm just very happy that we've gotten to this point and that you have these proposals in front of you, and want to let you know that it has my support, and thank you for the opportunity to do this work and for taking this issue seriously. And I always say that the end goal is to increase the trust between our communities and law enforcement, so that we're making a better community, and that has to be the end goal. We have to have trust in the board members, we have to have trust in the auditor, we have to have trust in the chief, and I'll leave it at there. And thanks again.
Thank you. Next is John Lucas.
I'm John Lucas, a member of the Modesto Peace Life Center, and also on the group that formed to create this idea of having a review board, community police review board. I was on that committee, and I'm glad to see we're here today actually discussing this a year and a half later or so. And I'm here tonight to support that. I hope you'll, I'm really glad that you put together Forward Together, which I think was really, really great, and I thank you for that. And so I hope tonight you'll pass this and support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next online, Paul Soto.
Yes, Paul Soto from San Jose, California. It's eerily coincidental that on our agenda today was a policy set in place that stemmed from the abuses of Police Chief Eddie Garcia when citizens of San Jose were exercising their constitutional protected right to redress their grievances against their government in the street, and the police came in, were antagonizing the protesters, and it resulted in a man having his testicles blown off. He can no longer have kids, clavicle broken, knees broken, multiple injuries, people being arrested, taken to jail, all for exercising the constitutional right. And what it highlighted for our city is the fact that racism exists in these police departments in all across the country. And I would go so far as to address it as an infection. That's how I like to address these issues, because it is an infection and it makes society sick. And one of the symptoms of that is its inability to address it itself. You see, democracy is demos, two words from the Greek, demos, kratis. Demos meaning people, kratis meaning strength, people's strength, people power, power of the people, not the power of the representatives. And so I applaud your efforts to put that democracy, demos kratis, in practice by giving the community the ability for, what I would suggest is that they have subpoena power. That they need subpoena power, because that's what happened today in San Jose, is that the police auditor now has subpoena power, and the police department can no longer determine what evidence to present and what evidence not to present. And that's based on a particular report that was given. Kevin Rector in the LA Times on April 30th of 2022 stated that San Jose PD found bias among ranks towards Chicanos and Mexicans, women, LGBTQ community members, as well as support for terrorist groups such as the Proud Boys. Audits also found that agencies had insufficient policies in place to safeguard against such attitudes within its ranks, to investigate them when alleged or to address them when identified. And so this is across the entire United States. Why? Because as a nation, we have never confronted the fact that racism exists, and one of the how we define institutionalized racism is what the cruising ban was all about. It's removal. This is a racial equity issue, and I'm at least encouraged by your efforts to try to do that, but we have much more to do, and that is being honest about this infection of institutionalized racism inside of our institutions of our police departments. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Wendy Bird.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Wendy Bird. I'm president of the Modesto Stanislaus NACP, and also a member of the Forward Together Committee, as well as the other organic committee dealing with this issue. First of all, I want to express my condolences to the Chavez family. I can understand why it's doubly painful when you call the police for help and what you end up with is a dead loved one, especially when we're supposed to be coming up with all kind of techniques to de-escalate. So I was really touched by the trauma that I saw with the family and friends. I want to talk about the police auditor's position. And to me, a critical part is the job description. Has the job description been developed yet? Because I think that there needs to be some really critical things. Our group forwarded several times to the council some ideas of what we had in mind that we've taken from other job descriptions. But I think it's important to include that the IPA have a separate email to receive complaints because people are uncomfortable making complaints, even if it's to the city manager, or the police department, if they have direct email, even though it would have to be shared, I think that should be the case. Also, this job description, I think, the skill set of the person is really, really important. It has to be someone that really understands posts and all the policies and procedures, employment law, all of the different things that go into really effectively evaluating a case. The job description also, I believe, should include something about having a database to track and monitor complaints. Also, those complaints where people are driving. We also need to review police training, promotions, and recruitment strategies, and that this officer, the IPA receives notification of any off-duty officer who's arrested or has an incident, especially if it's a drug or alcohol-related incident. So there's a variety of things, and we can re-forward this to you again of what we feel should be included in that job description. And I also think that some members of the Forward Together committee should be included and involved in helping to draft that description, because that's really key into making this a real effective position. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, online, I, initial I. Looks like you maybe have your mute on. It was off and now it's on. If you can please unmute. Right, we're still having difficulty. All right, looks like the hand is removed. Is anyone else getting communication any other way? All right. So the hand is raised again, not able to successfully connect. Right. Okay, so I guess we will move on. And last card that we have is Aaron Aguiano.
Hi, Aaron Anguiano from the Latino Community Roundtable, and a city resident and a voter. And well, I sit on the board of South Modesto Business United too, because I wanted to go back to the South Side where my adult children grew up. And I told the chief one time where he heard me in public saying that my oldest son was smashed against the police car one time when he and his cousins were by our door, and they laughed when a white man passed by. So an officer shows up, grabs my son by the collar and smashes his face against the police car. And this is like a 14-year-old, 12-year-old. And that really upsets me. And the chief always makes fun that, oh, besides your chip on your shoulder about that smashing, what other grudge do they have against the police department? Well, you know, now as a community member, of course, you know, we don't want those incidents that have occurred. They give the appearance of impropriety or that racism at work. Sometimes we get stopped by a police officer as Latinos, and of course we're scared. We don't know what's going to happen next when he's got his hand on the gun. And I know it's for his safety because we went to some training of what on the side of the police department. They taught us, okay, what do? You know, you're encountering people, you're doing a traffic stop, encountering people that you don't know how dangerous they can be. They could just kill you right there, so you better be careful. And so sometimes they're reaching for their phone, and you think it's a gun, and sometimes it's a gun, and you don't think it is, and then you're gonna be shot. And so sure enough, we went to some training, and I got shot a few times. So like, okay, now I get the other side. And so the job of the police chief is to keep us safe, and I understand. But okay, there's a strong sentiment that the police is sometimes heavy-handed, especially in the Latino community and the African-American community and maybe some of the Cambodian community, you know, those poor people. And those little, well, I was going to say some bad words, but in the airport, and the south side, and the west side. And so I feel strongly about, making the police accountable. And that is the role of the Forward Together Committee with the recommendations. I don't remember exactly saying we only endorse and only if and then the Anaheim model. We talk about all kinds of models, but we also feel strongly about police accountability. And as a lawyer, if I represent a client and I want to come to before the police review board, I need to know the exact process and who has the authority, who doesn't, and all that, because I don't want to be there like, okay, you're the police review board, and okay, what the heck you doing, Okay, you send it to the auditor, and what is he doing? Is he an auditor like a CHP, excuse me, can I use a little bit of my time? Especially that, I guess, I was in the board committee meeting. Anyways, so we need to know how each incident is going to play out. The investigation of the incident is going to play out. And really, those bylaws need to be really clear, and also need to be open for amendment in the future by the City Council, because we're going to pinpoint errors. I'm sure there's never a perfect document, and it's going to be a living document, and really, you're going to get input from the community. Otherwise, they're going to come and be yelling at the police review board, and it's going to be bad, just like it gets bad right here. It's going to get bad over there, and they really want to attack us more because we're not even the City Council members. And the chief is not going to be there to protect us. I hope there will be some security, I'm sure. But just be careful when you draft those things, and need to be very detailed so we as lawyers can come and say exactly what the process is going to be. And there's going to be no doubt of what's next and what the steps have to be when we read those bylaws and then his job description and all that. And I like that guy from San Jose. I wish he moved to Modesto because he has strong feelings. And by the way, congratulations to the city of San Jose. That is one of the best educated cities in the country, as opposed to Modesto, the fifth worst city, educated city in Modesto, by Modesto City Schools, 150 years old, and look at our poor areas of Modesto. And it's really a shame, and I hope they really do a better job this time. Thank you. Congratulations to the new board members. Jeremiah from the Latino Community Roundtable, and Eric, you're wonderful. I love the policy analysis that you do. And Rosa, you're so loving and nice and smart. And Chris, he's my representative. I love this guy. Thank you.
I feel left out a little bit. That's okay. Next, on the computer Zoom, try one more time. All right, we're not having any success there. So is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Please step forward.
Hi, just real quick. Obviously, I'm here to support Forward Together. I have a couple of issues or questions. It says that in the bylaws that a Modesto police officer or an ex-Modesto police officer couldn't be on the committee. But I think it should say any police officer. So if a Ceres police officer or Stockton police officer lives in Modesto, they shouldn't be able to be on there as well. It does? It does. Okay. What else? I think the IPA should also include cases that are in litigation. I think we want to be transparent and build trust and accountability. Nothing's going to bring Trevor back as much as I wish we could. I just hope and pray we can make our city and our community a better place and rebuild trust. And in honor and memory of Trevor, let's make our city better. Thank you. Justice for Trevor.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else who would like to address us? Please step forward.
I'm not sure what your procedure would be, but you've heard some really good suggestions from Solange and Wendy and Ms. Ruiz, and my hope is you will approve the process tonight, but then have staff come back with revisions and that can be implemented as you go forward and not just end up in notes somewhere, because I think these were really good suggestions. The other thing is, I have a question for staff probably about the sergeant, reviewing of above sergeant, sergeant and above. Why is that? It's a little vague to me what exactly that means. There's a provision where the IPA will review sergeant and above. But then there are like officers involved shootings, which would involve someone less than the sergeant. So I'm not sure what that little sentence exactly means, because it's in Anaheim's documents too, the IPA's duties. So is it just an administrative kind of lingo, which you don't want to bother the IPA with, minutia that really aren't germane? So anyway, and thank you for, and then one thing, thank you, Chief Gillespie, for all the work you've done.
Thank you. Allison, would you like to respond to that?
Chief, you want to speak to that? It's probably more in your lane.
Yeah, I think when we looked at Anaheim, and that is where the documentation came from, is because the IPA doesn't review every single use of force or citizen complaint. Just like Allison mentioned in her documents, it was a certain percentage of those. But every complaint of a sergeant or above will be reviewed by the IPA. So that was the clarification there, is that all complaints of a sergeant or higher will be reviewed by the IPA. But in the all of the complaints or use of forces, the IPA takes a random sampling of a certain amount of those to review those. So it just actually increases what their responsibilities are, because as supervisors, we want to make sure that all those are reviewed.
All right. I really hate to go back and forth but step forward if you have another comment.
Doesn't the description say that every use of force must be reviewed? I mean, that's part of the whole point of the IPA, that use of force, and I guess you can dither on what does force mean. What does force mean, grabbing by the arm or shooting? Anyway, I think that needs to be
weeds on so many things for this, but as you
I
suggested.
can clarify that real quick. So all uses of deadly force and in-custody deaths will be reviewed. All bias-based police complaints, all administrative investigations of sergeant or higher, and then as Allison mentioned earlier, the random selection of one-third of all administrative investigations, a random selection of all one-third of all citizen complaints, and a random selection of a quarter use of all use of forces and other investigations at the discretion of the city.
All right. Thank you very much. Next online, we have Marla.
Hi, this is Marla, and I am Trevor's aunt, and I've been listening to everything going on tonight, and I really do hope that you pass everything. And I know people are concerned about the bylaws, but I'm sure that they're going to continue to be tweaked and updated so that as times change, I'm sure those will change. But the one thing I just want to bring up is we need to also look at officers now. Just because you wear a badge and you have a gun does not give you free will to murder people. And I really do hope this committee looks at somebody who not only murdered one person, but a second person, and a third, and so on and so on. Just because our DA doesn't want to prosecute does not mean that person did not commit murder. And I'm thankful we're getting rid of that DA, and maybe we'll get a DA in there that he actually has the guts to go after bad officers. There's a lot of good officers out there. You've got one sitting right in front of you, but there's those bad ones that are making everybody look good. And lately I've been hearing bad things about some of the officers coming in, and I don't want to hear that because I don't want to lose my trust. So I know you all will do what you need to do, but we do need to maybe retrain these officers. Don't have them gun happy. One of the gentlemen said, you don't know. When they get out of a car, they don't know what they're going to. It breaks my heart when I see a story on the news or on my phone where an officer was ambushed and murdered. It does. But it also breaks my heart when an unarmed person is murdered because that officer is gun happy and that officer has gotten away with murder more than 3 times. And we just need to look at that also. We need to look at everything as a whole, but we also need to look at those officers as individuals. What they have done in their past should be brought up, not just the victim. I had to tell a sheriff at a domestic violence scene where my friend called to remember she was the victim. He didn't like me telling him that. And I told him more than once, because that's what officers forget is somebody's calling you for help. They're the victim of something. They're either the victim of their mental health. They're the victim of domestic violence. They're the victim of a robbery. And a lot of officers forget that and they want to blame the victim. Like right now, I know my nephew is going to be blamed because a serial killer cop thought he could murder one more person. Thank you, and I appreciate all that you've done. You've all done a great job, and have a good evening, and have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Next online, Jenny Knoyer.
Hi, I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay. I had a little problem with my computer. I'm usually on the other end. This is interesting. The reason why I'm calling is I have listened about Forward Together and all the things that we're going to implement. My one concern, and I do know that we did have, we're going to be getting more taxes, but that's barely going to cover what we are so far behind on. And I think, if I remember right, that use of force, especially if someone is injured, it is investigated by the police department, three different departments on the way up to the state, 3 times. My concern is the auditor, is he or she going to get new information, or are they just going to redo the information that the other 3 committees or departments studied this on the way up? And is it a double billing? Is it something that we really need? And this is my only concern. I really believe in that we have been awakened to the fact that we need something, but I'm not exactly sure if we need an auditor. I like the commission. I like the way that's formed, but I am just not concerned if paying for an auditor is really worth what it is. And that's the one thing, and I'm sure that this is something we will see improved as we go along. And thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate everyone. We've worked very, very hard. They've worked so hard on this, and given so much time, especially the Forward Together. It's remarkable, and I know we're a great city. We don't have near the problems that other cities that you look at it, but I just know that we'll see an improvement. And thank you for listening to me. Good night.
Good night. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? All right, I will close public comments and ask council for their further comments. Nick Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Like council member Williams and Alvarez, a year ago we saw Forward Together from afar, and tonight we are going to make a very important vote. And so I know the 3 of us had worked very hard to get up to speed and get the information we needed to prepare ourselves for this vote. Having spent a great deal of time over the last few months reviewing the recommendations from Forward Together Committee, and spent the last weekend reading the ordinance establishing the Community Police Review Board and request for a proposal on independent police auditing services, I will be voting in favor of this item. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge and express my sincere appreciation to the men and women of the Modesto Police Department who have a stressful and difficult job in protecting the city of Modesto and their citizens. The Modesto Police come to work every day to keep our city safe, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Rickey.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to speak in support of Forward Together. For the last at least year here, maybe a little over a year, we've had a group of dedicated people working together from really diverse backgrounds and, you know, completely different perspectives on policing. Really work hard together to find a system that will make Modesto a better place. And what they came up with, I think, is remarkable. And the fact that, by and large, they all agreed is impressive and very special. And it's a testament to all the people, both within the city of Modesto and our consulting team that put this thing together. And what they came out with is just, it's amazing and it's impressive. Many years ago, we had a similar discussion when we started the Entertainment Commission. And in the end, once that commission was created, we ended up with a safer community and better relations between artists and the police department and a better relationship between musicians and the city of Modesto. And I think we have an opportunity here to do something much bigger and much better for the community. So I'm looking forward to voting in favor of this. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. We are at the culmination of a very lengthy, a very thoughtful community conversation. This process began several years ago, as has been referenced, when our community and our nation were at a crossroads because there was police and community relation unrest, and the trust was low. And I've said it before that the Forward Together was a very thoughtful group. It created all these recommendations that were very professional, were very thoughtful, and I strongly believe all came from a point of goodwill for a better Modesto. And I think we live in an imperfect world, but I think the process we have now moves us forward to having a better Modesto and building trust and building conversation. Only good could come from that. So I also look forward and plan on supporting the full implementation of all the recommendations being brought forth today. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other? Councilmember Williams.
I too. Thank you. I too support this effort. Have been in this community for 42 years and have seen a lot of different things. And I am thankful that I can be here tonight to see history be made because I too support this endeavor. And I know that there are some things that we may have to critique as we go through this process. And I'm sure I will be a part of making sure that we critique it to the point where it makes sense for all of us.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
All right, I thought, excuse me?
Sorry.
I sense some enthusiasm here tonight. I would like to make some brief comments. Again, I would like to echo everything that my fellow council members have said. And Chief Gillespie and I were at a meeting earlier today, and I used an analogy that came to me this last week thinking about this, what I consider a momentous occasion in our community, in that being a nurse, we are supposedly the most trusted profession that there is. And I thought, why is that? And I thought it really is because we have great policies and procedures and accountability, and also, the analogy that I made is we have weapons in our hands in the hospital, right? We have medications. We use leather restraints in the emergency room. Of course, it's not to the extent, but, well, it could potentially be used in a way that would not be healthy for someone. But we really self-report. We expect a lot from each other. And I ultimately feel that this will create that environment, and it will encourage officers to want to come to live and to work and to police in Modesto. I believe that one of the reasons Measure H passed was because of this Forward Together group that was so diverse, that worked together and created already this trust in our community. And I think that this is just another step in that process. So I am so grateful for our law enforcement. As I often say, that they take a beating, we take a beating, and that's okay. We signed up to do this. However, if you note, the comments from people in our community are overwhelmingly supportive of our law enforcement officers, to the point that it's really heartwarming actually to read most of what people say on social media in support of our officers. So I feel like we have a really great opportunity here, and I support this wholeheartedly, all three components of it, and we'll be voting in favor of it tonight. Any other comments from council members? Seeing none, this will be 3 separate votes. Number 1, a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance adding section 2-3908, Community Police Review Board, to Chapter 3, Administrative Departments of Title II, Administration of the Modesto Municipal Code, to establish the City of Modesto Community Police Review Board. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright and a second from Council Member Williams. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier-Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. So that carries 7-0. The next is a resolution approving Community Police Review Board bylaws. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ricky and a second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier-Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries 7-0. Next is a resolution approving the proposed scope of work for independent police auditor services. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Williams and a second by Councilmember Bavaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier-Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries 7-0. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is hearings. Item 24, hearing to consider accepting the capital facility fees annual report for fiscal year 2021-22 and making findings related to each of the fee categories. Welcome, Jessica Hill.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Jessica Hill, and I'm the Community Development Manager. So as a little bit of background, impact fees can be used for the purchase, construction, expansion, rehabilitation, or acquisition of public facilities. And local jurisdictions, according to state law, are allowed to adopt an impact fee program to help mitigate the effects of new development. Impact fees cannot be used for the maintenance of existing or future facilities and are typically paid at the time of building permit. And each year, the state requires a jurisdiction that if they collect impact fees, they were required to report on it annually, and that's the report in front of you today. So our capital facility fees program, our CFF, was established in 1987, and it was adopted by the council based on the relationship between the type of new development and the infrastructure associated with general plan build-out. The CFF fees is collected on all new construction and expansion projects within the city and within the city's sphere of influence. And then all of the local reporting is in accordance to the California Government Code, Section 66006, and all of the fees are segregated from our general fund and other fees that are collected at the city. So we currently collect 7 different categories of capital facility fee funds: streets, transit, parks and air quality, fire, police, general government, and administration. Above is a fee schedule of our capital facility fee program. And the fee program over the last year had a 2.1% construction cost index increase over the last year. And so for context, for a new single-family residential home, an individual would pay $15,331 for a new construction on that. A little bit of history about the 5-year funding that the city's collected for our capital facility fee programs. In fiscal year 2021-2022, we collected just over $7.8 million, which is with a 39% increase from fiscal year 2020-2021. And this is due to the more development happening within the city of Modesto and the sphere of influence. Here is a chart of the 5-year revenue and expense history associated with the capital facility fee program. And so as part of the city's adoption of our accessory dwelling unit ordinance, we have exempted ADUs less than 750 square feet from the capital facility impact fee program. And those that are over 750 square feet will be charged proportionally in relation to the square footage of the primary dwelling unit. So for fiscal year 21-22, we exempted a total of 27 ADUs, and then the other 8 were of a reduction from what was traditionally charged. We also have a deferral program and an exemption program. So we offer a deferral for multifamily, commercial, and industrial. And so individuals can pay a portion of CFF at the time of building permit issuance and then just defer the payment to annual payments over a 5-year period of time. And this has helped to mitigate the cost of construction at the initial building permit issuance. We also offer a single-family residential deferral program where instead of paying it up front at building permit issuance, they can wait till final inspection to pay these. And we currently have 5 multifamily deferrals over the fiscal year 2021-2022. We also offer exemptions for very low and low-income housing, and that's considered any housing that's constructed by the Housing Authority or any housing that is for households earning less than 60% of the area median income. And over the last year, we had 1 exemption process for 2021-2022. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for your report. Does council have any questions of staff? Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Jessica, for your report. On your under 750 square feet, does that include apartment complexes? So if you have a apartment complex or duplex that each unit is under 750 square feet.
So an apartment complex is actually charged at the multifamily rate, and so they will be charged a specific fee. But if a person who owned a single-family home and was permitted to just do an accessory dwelling unit, that's where the 750 feet takes place.
So it has to be a separate unit.
Correct.
It can't be attached.
It can be attached if it's called a junior ADU or a separate ADU in the back of your property. But a multifamily apartment complex is assessed the multifamily rate for CFF.
All right. Any other questions from council members?
I have a quick question. Thanks for that report, Jessica. As always, awesome. You, in your last statement, you referenced, I thought I heard you say 4 households. I heard you say households having the annual income, and I forgot what the income amount was. Did you mean household members, or are we talking 4 different? I didn't understand what you meant by households.
Great. So what we do is we offer exemptions for low-income affordable housing projects. And so the developer can apply for this exemption if they are serving households who are under 60% of the area median income.
Right.
And so the total household income, based on the number of people living there, which is what would be assessed. to determine if they qualified for an exemption.
That's fine. You made reference to 4 households. I just didn't understand why.
I think I said 4, not
Oh,
the number
4,
but
not the
4
number
households.
4.
Yeah, sorry.
Very tired. Okay, okay, great. That makes sense.
Sorry.
No worries.
All right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, I'll now open the public hearing. Wake up. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 24? I do not see anyone in person. Online, I see a hand raised. Paul Soto.
Yes, Paul Soto from San Jose. What I didn't hear mentioned, it was conspicuously absent, is any kind of racial equity analysis. And what I mean by that is, do you have a racial equity metric that you use to allocate funding? We have like this hyper development that's going on everywhere. And Modesto is affected by that. Any development that goes on in San Jose, Modesto is going to be directly affected. You have a large community there in Modesto that used to be, prior to their residency in Modesto, they were San Jose residents. And what we're talking about is the generational deficits that were created via redlining policies. Because policies created deficits in education, it created deficits in income, it created deficits socially. And I would go so far as the kinds of conditions, the social and economic conditions that were experienced in these barrios, in these redlined areas, that the symptoms of that redlining and symptoms of that discrimination, what we did as a society is criminalize that so that we don't have to contend with the moral or ethical objections. And so what I'm curious to know is, do you have a legally binding definition for racial equity? And if you do, then where is that policy being implemented in the allocation of the funding that you receive from the developer? Because the developer, and also I'm curious to know if you have any in lieu fees, meaning if the developer agrees to 20% housing, 20% low-income housing inside of a housing project, are you allowing him to buy back those allocations if he just pays a fee? And if he does pay a fee, where does that fee go? What pot does that funding go? There's like a lot of questions involved in this policy that you're talking about, you're addressing, but there's like a lot of moving pieces that aren't really fully articulated. And I think it's important to articulate that because we are in an era where we are contending with a generational poverty that was created intentionally. And a large portion of your community is connected to that because they grew up here in San Jose and moved there for economic reasons. And so I'd just like to know how you were addressing racial equity within the context of these, not only the receipt of the funding, but the application of it with respect to city services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comment and question. So I believe there's 3 separate questions you asked. One of them was regarding racial equity. And so the racial equity in regards to the exemptions, it's based solely on income. So if these households actually receive funding from the City of Modesto, we collect demographic information as well. All funding that we collect through our impact fee program are for infrastructure projects that have been identified by what the ultimate build out of the general plan would be. And so once there's enough funding collected, we go through our CIP process and then complete projects that the city has already identified when the CFF program was actually established in 1987, updated in 2003, and updated in 2011. We do not now offer an in lieu fee at all for any type of project. And so I hope that answers your questions.
Right, thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address item 24? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Are there any further comments from council members? All right, I will call for a motion for a resolution accepting the capital facilities fees annual report for fiscal year 2021-22 and making findings related to each of the fee categories. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Wright,
Second.
second by Councilmember Scudia Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Pizarro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye, so it carries 7-0. Next is item 25, hearing to consider accepting the fiscal year 2021-22 annual report of funds held for future developments and making findings related to each security on file. Welcome, Jessica, again.
Thank you, everyone. This is my second annual report for the evening. So a little bit of background is sometimes there is a condition of approval placed on a project that individuals will put a deposit down for improvements that are needed at a future period of time. And so when this is done, the city needs to report on this annually to talk about the funds that are still being held and why they haven't been developed yet. So as of this period in time, we have 3 securities deposited for future development projects and held by the city. And again, this funding can only be used for the specific future improvements as they were identified in the project approval process. So the first one is 1024 Florence Avenue, and this project was in 2000 where the city issued a building permit for the new single-family dwelling unit at 1024 Florence. They deposited $2,500 into the city's trust account, and city sewer service is not available in this area, and therefore connection cannot be made yet. The next one is 3055 Floyd Avenue, which was a 232 apartment complex approved by the Planning Commission in 2004. They paid their fair share for the Beta Street extension with the adjacent property. And right now, the adjacent property has not yet developed, and so the additional funds are not yet available to do that improvement. Lastly is 3019 Floyd Avenue, which was the Walgreens Pharmacy improved in 2008. They were to pay for their fair share of the reconstruction of the bus turnout and on and off-site driveway access. And so they made the deposit of, at that time, $27,165 for a total now with interest of $31,000. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from council members regarding item 25. All right, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on item 25? Paul Soto.
Yes, Paul Soto from San Jose. Once again, redlining was a policy.
We're trying to get you back.
Oh, hello?
All right, hold on. Okay, now we can hear you again. Sorry on our end, I think.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Paul Soto from San Jose. Every single county, Stanislaus, I'm sure, was included in that, had a redlining map that ours was created in 1939. And about that time, in all the cities across the country, these redlining maps were created. I happened to grow up in D11, which was the lowest designation on that map. That's Barrio Horseshoe in San Jose. And so what the policy is, and here's the question, there's a question in here, is that I don't know where these areas are at, but the question would be, do you have a racial equity policy that relates to even sewers, streets? Because what we have found is that when streets are in disrepair, most often than not, they were in disrepair in particular areas of the city that just, happen to be full of Chicanos, or happen to be full of blacks, and so what that did is it put a strain and stress on the cars. Whereas in the more affluent areas and more resource.
Uh-oh, that time we didn't do anything. We lost you, Paul.
Maybe give him a second, see if he can come back.
I think it's connection.
Kind of idealism is that we have to make racial equity a verb. It's an action, and it's a principle. It's a guiding principle in terms of budget allocations. So it's like, well, if these redlined areas, if these affluent areas have received the most monies over time, which we can prove via the redlining map, then the principles of racial equity would dictate that we now start giving monies into these other areas of our city that have been historically proven to be neglected. And then we can start saying that we as a city affirm that racial equity is a principle, it is a value, and that we need to start implementing that in our policies. And so sometimes it's hard to get there because there's going to be a lot of governmental pushback. And that's why it's important that citizens like myself who are educated around these areas and know what we're talking about, because not only did we educate ourselves academically about these things, we've also experienced what it feels like to experience the inequity. And so I think the redlining map is the measure by which we have been treated with inequity. So it should also be the guiding map by which we start implementing equity in these particular areas, so that the quality of their lives can be enhanced to a level to balance these deficits that were created by the redlining map to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you. In the spirit of transparency, we did lose you for about 15, 20 seconds, but we did add time on at the end. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item, item 25? All right. Welcome.
Aaron Anguiano again here. And I agree with the last speaker. The thing is that when you see these areas in the airport, south side, the west side, with puddles, with all kinds of things, you know, and then you wonder what has happened here, you know, and does the South Modesto look like the Dust Bowl settlements, you know, or how much improvement have you made? And so I think that we really need to think whenever we enact policy and funding and your budget workshops, make sure that our community also has a fair share of the funding and allocation, the funding allocation. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this item, item 25? Seeing none, I will close. Oh.
West Modesto would like some of that funding too. Somebody forgot their telephone up here. But our streets and our sidewalks and our infrastructure are in very much need. So if some of that funding can go to West Modesto side, we'd appreciate that also.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Any further council comments on item 25?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to indicate that 1024 Florence is the only one in West Modesto near Mark Twain. The others are in my district, District 5, which is above Briggsmore Avenue, where those projects are not going to move forward. So just wanted to let you know that.
All right. Any other comments from council members? Seeing none, I need this is a resolution accepting the fiscal year 2021-22 annual report of funds held for future improvements and making findings related to each security on file. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right. A motion by Vice Mayor Wright. I will make the second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scuti-Abratan.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Swallen.
Aye. Carries 7-0. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.